oluyimba lw'eggwanga n'olwa East Africa, then ekyokubiri wabeerewo esaala nga bulijjo batandika entuula za parliament, then wabeerewo proclamation eya speaker owa parliament okulangirira ekifo ekyo nga bwe twategeeza wali nti parliament lulwetuula ne bwesalawo negenda etuule Fort Portal esobola okutuulayo naye nga ekiteeka ligamba nti speaker ateeka kusooka kulangirira nti kati eno parliament yegenda okukola ki yegenda okutuula wano so proclamation yegenda okuddako then ekiddako ejja kuba communication from the chair abeera speaker wa parliament ajja kukola communication nga bulijjo plenary sittings bwe zitandika era abeerako communication egyakola then aveeyo item ey'omukaaga ayite His Excellency the President, Head of State, okujja okudelivering a State of the Nation address, then President Museveni nga Head of State erawe address. Bamala okuwa address tewali kirala kiddako kyonna ebeera adjournment ne anthems ziberenga zikubibwa baziyimbibwa mu reverse order. Kati omulabi waffe kyagenda era kyateeka okumanya chovola gundi eri brief
omukolo
guba gwa president okwogerera eggwanga nenga ayita mu parliament era aiteeka erifuga omukolo guno gwa State of the Nation address ababaka wa parliament n'abali mu kisenga omwo kuba ababaka wa parliament bwe bakirizibwa mu kisenga wennyini tebateekwa na kwanukula president. State of the Nation address is delivered in silence kubanga basirifu n'okuba basirifu n'okukekolinga tekikirizibwa
omulundi ogwasembayo era waliwo Samia ndowooza abakera bekandaga ne basalawo wali no baasuka kumulinda n'atandika n'okwogera ng'ali ku floor kwennyini atandika ne batandika okwekolinga mpolampola ne bafuluma ne bekandaga era baabalika wadde city wali kyebakola ne bagamba bagende era still omukolo gwasika ne gutambula n'ayogera ensonga zinazimalayo n'atambula n'agenda ate oluvannyuma ne bafuna akadde kubanga etteeka babamanyi ebyokukola naye ndowooza ate oba oluusi bayingizaamu ebyobufuzi
no mwami wamala si bya bufuzi naye ddembe lyabwe nti
kakati bw'ogenda nga tutegeezezza abantu nti ngenze togenda
no okwekandaga mu parliament kya bulijjo abaka bamanya nti waliwo either ekigenda okuteesebwako nga tebakiwagira bekandaga ne bafuluma ekisenge omuteeserezebwa olw'okuba nti baba tebaagala babeere part and party to the what kubisaliddwawo ebikoleddwa mu kiseera
ky'ekinyi kwogera kwa mukulu era kubamanyi tikuli mu seeka
anti bakuwadde ensonga zaabwe ebbiri
amateeka bo ge baabaga essemateeka ennyingo 11 emanyiddwa obulungi nti president the session ya parliament webe etandika nabo bennyini gye beenyigiramu nti omwaka gwa parliament
era eno session esooka esooka mu session
opening of the session ya parliament bateekeddwa okuba nga bawuliza president mu nteekateeka eyo anyway kiri eri bondowooza nga bogambye naye
no ddembe lyabwe okuba nti bakuwadde ensonga zaabwe esooka nga bagambye nti bo bamanyi nti ekiruma abantu bannayuganda olwaleero yebbeeyo ebintu ekoze eki
omuwendo ogwenya inflation
bombo batunudde ne balaba nga President Museveni talina kipya kyagenda okwogera ku nsonga eyo kubanga weeks ebbiri emabega yavayo n'agamba nti gavumenti ye terina kyesobola kukola ki kati basazeewo bafulume bagaane okutuulamu mu kabonero bubaka obulaga President Museveni specifically nti gavumenti ye ne ttiimu ye tebalina kye bakozeewo mu kaseera nga bannansi bakola ki bayaga
oluvannyuma bagende bakubaganya ebirowoozo ku byayogedde
yes era oteekwa kujja ne statement eyanukula okwogera kwa president n'okikola ekyo oba tokikole n'agamba nti ekyo tujja kikola ate ne budget reading nayo tujja kubeerayo bajja kubeerayo ensonga gyawadde wali nti bajja kubeera mu budget reading process ya parliament bagyetabamu bwe bali ku bukiiko bwa budget obwa finance be bakubaganya ebirowoozo ku budget okugiyisa so baga nti ekyo tebasobola gikola ki kujepena kubanga bali kitundu ku process ya budget naye mbu kinne kya president okwogera nawa accountability eggwanga litambulira litya mu mwaka guno ogumu tekyo si kyabwe
anti era byayogera ebisinga era obungi bitambulira nnyo mu budget eno gye bakola process yabwe nnyini gye bakola kitegeeza nabo bakikola bwe bagenda kukola allocation ez'enjawulo bwebanga balina ebibabawanga bangi bakusinzira ku budget era ndowooza Fulugaiti yasigala nga tetunuuliddwa nnyo president bwe yatugamba nti tubeere nga tukekkereza ate amaka ge go tegakekkereza
Tomanye makage gafulumya gatya gayingiza gatya so awo tosobola kumanya oba
nange njogera kusinzira ku kyebamuwa kyebamuwa mu allocation era nga yagenda twagenda okumalako financial year oba enteekateeka budget cycle eya 2021-2022 ng'olako ennaku ntono nnyo okwaprovinga budget n'okugiyisa amakage gaali gayisiza ne gasaba supplementary ne babaweera ensimbi ezo oba oli awo kyalaga nti bo bayinza okujja nti president bw'aba agamba nti ate kya preaching si kyakola baga frugality yali badde ng'etandikidde waggulu nekka wansi SP Loven bw'otunuulira olwaleero twogedde ku mmotoka ezaaleeteddwa ofiisi ya speaker ne deputy 2.8 billion buli emu yakawumbi kamu n'obukadde 4 abantu nga beebuuza nti mu mbeera eno emmotoka ebadde priority nnyo kubanga emmotoka ezibaddewo enkadde ez'emyaka 10 former speakers abadde baliwo zibadde bakozesa ne bano
ndoza tebanaamala ate ekyo tuleme ku ekyo tuleme kisa ku president Museveni
lindako kataddemu bonga kubanga nti omukulu wuuna aganye okujja naye nga
ekyo tukinenyeze parliament yenyini
ekyawe bayisawo nga teri abagambye
parliamentary commission yetuula negamba nti kati budget tugenda gitematema bwetu ya parliament speaker waffe ne deputy bayinza okuba beetaaga motoka mpya nawulidde actually si motoka zokka bagenda bagulira ennyumba ate basasule ne areas mbwe obadde basula ibanga lino lyonna bateko basasula housing allowance anyway byandibanga
kati
naye kyengamba nti kinenyeze parliament ye
kakati nange njagala tutulewo mpola weekandaga olwaliiro noga togenda kuliza president wa ggwanga naye nga ekikyokale kiri mu tteeka okwogera kwa president kuli mu tteeka n'okufuna ensimbi zino ze baafunye ziri mu tteeka naye nga nabo bw'oba nti frugality kusooka kukendeeza kusooka kwerumya towadde nnyo bwetaavu bwaggula mmotoka zino kadde kano mu mbeera munnayuganda gyalimu kati wadde osobola okukwata ensimbi eno 2.8 billion that is a budget for a full ministry mugiwadde abantu babiri bw'otugamba tukendeeze tutwerumye naye nga gwe budget ey'ekitongole ekirambe ya ministry enamba ogiwadde abantu babiri kati awo nawo okwekandaga kuno kuyinza okubaamu amakwekansa
era tumubuuzizza
birimu okweyagaliza naye ate
tumubuuzizza Honorable Mathas Mpuga tumubuuzizza nti naye byetuwulira nti mwafunye ssente emiliyoni 40 buli mubaka wa parliament ekyo kyo kiri kitya n'agamba nti nze kyemanyiiko wabaddewo entegeka ey'okubaako ababaka ba parliament okubaako kye babawa babeeko ebituli bye baziba ku mileage n'ebyo manye ensimbi ze batambuza amafuta gabatambuza nti ebbanga liyise ng'ebbeeyi gye basetinga wali nga ntono nnyo eri wansi amafuta gaalinya so n'alaga nti sente bazikola ki balabika bazifunye bazifuna so ndowooza tubannenye oba oliawo okuba nti bafunye allowance mu kaseera kano kennyini naye ate kiba kizibu ate ekyokukinyinyiza president kuba ebyo byonna biyita mu parliamentary commission yetuula neeraba ku welfare y'ababaka ba parliament yekola ebyo byonna so president Museveni tusobola okusigala nga tumubanja
Apollo kyenkugirayo nti bagenda okwekandaga ensonga zibawa nti president era kyagenda kukola
ku miwendo gy'ebintu
naye nga ate emiwendo gy'ebintu egirinye nabo bennyini fulugate tebagikoze
bandi badde beerekereza
mu kaseera kano emmotoka ebadde teyeetaagisa akadde kano naye katwegate ku nsonga tula musajja mukulu gw'Essegirinya ali Kololo wuyanjala ne Kane Kanyedda kansooka batubuulira enteekateeka ki eriwo akadde kano ddakiika bulayo tonotono nga 2 ate okutuuka ku ssaawa 8 omukulu ajja kuba nga ayingirawo twongere okumanya ddala biki gw'Essegirinya gw'oli Kololo ffe tulina tukaana nsonga z'abannaffe kwekandaga naye nga ate bamaze okukwata akasente kaabwe baga tebalina kibabanja president baga talina kyagenda tugamba gw'oli ku ground esooka otubulira ensonga akadde kano waliwo ki n'enteekateeka zonna okutwaliza awamu.
Yes, Muhammad ne kubeerako ne Apple Tusime sako ne Kajangu Moses wano wetuli twatusedde era twabukiriza dda nkokola okuba nga tutuuka Kololo okulaba ate okwogera ku mukulembeze gwanga kinajjukira nti ebbanga tumaze emyaka 2 abadde ayogerera ku Zoom naye nga bintu bino byonna bigenze maaso ensonga nyingi maaso n'okwetobeka ekikulu ekiriwo nti bannaffe ab'opposition nina n'omugwe n'alabyeko ero balabisenga So kakati embeera tusinze kulaba bannaffe aba NRM be basinze okuba nga ate beetaba mu mukolo gino gigenda mu maaso. Mu kaseera kano nja kukutegeeza nti pulezidenti anaba kutuuka naye nga abasinga obukulu ba minisita baatuuse edda era nga bwentunatuna minisita Matiya Kasaija mulabyeko n'endaba ne ababaka bakiikirira amagye ba minisita abalala abagwa mu Doketi Ssenjala naye okujjukiza nti okwogera kuno ate kwa byafaayo nnyo era nga bwengezaako okulengeza minisita Kasaija y'omukaabo betulaba kwetaba ku mukolo guno wano ku Salt Media. Honorable Minister, tusaba kubuuza akafazaali abantu bakulabeko bulabi nti oli ku Salt. Omukolo guno gye ogwetegekedde otya?
Ate nakyukireko okugwetegekera nkimanyi buli mwaka kino kikolebwa so teri kweteekateeka wabula twagatuulira omukulu byanaatugamba kasinga ebikulu omukulu byagamba naffe tuteeseeko omukono nga tumubuulira kubanga ffe mu finance ye minisita waffe so olwekyo tulindiridde ajja tubuulire ensinga bwetambula.
Minisitule by'ensimbi eno embeera eno mugisanze mutya naddala nga twakava mu covid ebyenkula bitambula biti ebyenfuna?
Ekibuuzo ekyo sijja kukiddamu ninda nange nzija nga 14 bwe naakutegeeza
nga tukuta omukolo guno tugula kugenda mu maaso naye bannaffe ab'opposition tetulabako n'omu. Ab'opposition bali luddawa?
Ebyo bibuuza nze bibuuze parliament buuza opposition zo kitokimbuuza.
Tweyanziza minisita Matiya Kasaija yoyo minisita avunanyizibwa kuteekerateekera eggwanga nate wembadde gamba nti yatuuse dda wano ate ogenda mu maaso n'okulaga embeera nga bweri wano ate okwogera ku mukulembeze eggwanga ng'alambika eggwanga biki ebisobodde okuba nga bikyukibwako gwe alaba Salt TV nga bwe gambye Muhammad Wamala sijja kulimba nti n'alabyeko omuntu n'omu wano ow'opposition waliwo omubaka wano ajjada alimba mu Honorable Sejjoba. Honorable sooka obuuze ku bantu
batulaba mwenna abali eyo mikwano gyange mbalamusizza nnyo. Eggulo lya leero bakawungezi ka leero tuli wano ku kibangirizi ky'ekkololo eky'emikolo era ng'omukolo gwe tuliko gwe gw'okuba tugenda kuwuliriza ebigambo bye tusuubira okuba nti bizimba eggwanga okuva mu kulembeze w'eggwanga General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni ng'agenda otubuulira eggwanga liyimiriddewa ki kye tusuubira naye nze kye naali agadde okwogerako kwe kulaba nti kye tulimu kye tuyita depression mu economics tuli mu kiwonvu ky'ebyenfuna kyensuubira okuba olwaliro kyagenda otugamba tuvudde tutya mu kiwonvu ky'ebyenfuna okuddamu okulinnyalinnya nga emiwendo gy'ebintu gikkako wansi ate nga bannayuganda beeyongera okufuna ku nsimbi ezigenda okubayamba okwetuusaako ebyetaago byabwe.
Ensimbi zino za parish model nakyo waziwuliddeko zatuusewo?
Zatuuse dda ku akawunti ya district nga buli muluka bamaze okuguwa miliyoni 17 ezigenda okuteekebwa mu bintu ebikolebwa ng'okulunda enkoko, abalimi ba kasooli, abalimi b'ebijanjaalo wamu n'abalunda ku mbizzi. Abantu tusuubira nti bagenda kugezaako okukola emirimu gino okwongera ku nfuna yaabwe mu maka okulwanyisa obwavu bukendeeza ate n'okwetuusaako ebyetaago byabwe.
Nga tufundikira waliwo ebiitiŋŋana nti babawaddeyo ku ttwe erigenda okubayamba okutambuza enteekateeka eno waliwulireko ettu lino lyatonye ku akawunti yo?
Ekyo ntayi ekyo njagala kubeera mwerufu nnyo eri eggwanga. Nze nga Ssejjoba ku akawunti yange tekunnagendako ssente zonna okuggyako ez'omusaala gwe nteka okufuna okuva mu paalamenti ya Uganda. Bwe waba waliwo ekyogerebwa nange neesunga nnyo okumanya ani atandise olugambo olwo olw'okwonoona n'okujolonga n'okutyoboola paalamenti ya Uganda nti eriwo okuweebwa kubanga ffe situweebwa ssente ze tufuna tuzikolerera era zituweebwa mu mateeka okuva ku nsako mu nsawo mu kitavu kya Uganda Consolidated Fund so seezo ezoogerebwa.
Ab'opposition mwabagobye ku mukolo guno nga tetulabako n'omu kiki?
Eby'opposition siyinza kubyogerera. Nze nsobola kujja wano nga Ssejjoba naye bwe baba tebazze bayinza okuba basazeewo butajja nga bo era balina ensonga zaabwe zesiyinza kwogera kubanga situla mu lukiiko lwabwe.
Tweyanze egeyo Honorable Sejjoba ate gwe kantukemu wano ndabe ono mbaka bamuyita munnyo salt honorable ng'owoomye nnyo
neyanza sebo
tuli live ku Salt TV leero tetugenda kubyanza sokubuze ku abantu babuli amanyako nejova
webale nnyo sebo amanya gange nze batalingaya Baziliyo Lwankwene omubaka akikirira abantu be Kashari North mu Mbarara district tuli wano e Kololo okuwuliriza omukulu w'eggwanga kiki kyayogera leero. Yes.
Bicholoza ebikulu ennyo mu kaseera kano birina okuba nga biteekebwako essira munnauganda byandyagadde okuwulira bw'oba okuba mu kutooki.
Kisooka wiiki ejja eggwanga lijja kwanjirirwa embalirira. Kakati nga bulijjo mukulu w'eggwanga waliwo engeri tooki bw'aba yise mu bajeti ebintu ebimu byatangaaza eri eggwanga. Kati budget eno twagiyisa mu kiseera kizibu nga ebintu ebisinga ebikozesebwa mu maka g'abantu birinnya enkandago nga buli omu akaaba mu ggwanga ate bw'oba okaaba omuntu bw'aba akaaba abantu baddukira eri nanyinimu ye pulezidenti. Kati nalwekyo olwaleero tusuubira nti oluusi kino ekintu ajja kukyogerako atulage biriwa ebivuddemu obuzibu biriwa bye tusobola kukolako ng'eggwanga kubanga waliwo ebitasobola kukolebwako kubanga biva bweru w'eggwanga naye nga nanyinimu ye abeera ne solution n'agamba kubanga nanyinimu tasobola kugamba nti ekintu kinnemye alina abawi b'amagezi bwe beegatana n'amagezi agage babeerako ne solution gye baleeta eri abantu. So musuubira okwogera ku bbeeyi y'ebintu kwogera ku budget eno gye twakayisa n'okwogera ku mbeera ki naddala ekiri mu ddiiro ennaku zino parish development model n'okukunga abantu be okulaba nti buli munnayuganda yenna yenyize mu kintu kya parish development model kubanga erabibwa ng'ekyo ekinajja abantu abasinga mu bwavu.
Ebigambo ebigenda maaso n'okuyitingana nti waliwo akasente ke babawadde akagenda okuyamba otambuza enteekateeka eno wabiwuliddeko?
Nange nawuliddeko engambo ezo. Ekisooka waliwo gwe nawulidde agamba nti zayitira mu supplementary budget. Nedda supplementary budget gye twayisa teyalimu ssente za kubanga gundi eggwanga lirimu amasiga asatu. Waliwo executive, waliwo judiciary, waliwo ne parliament oba olukiiko lw'eggwanga. Mu ssente ze twayisa temwalimu ssente z'olukiiko lw'eggwanga. Kitegeeza nti esente ezo bwe ziba weziri zirina abala we ziva teziva mu budget. Kati bwe ziba nga zirina we zivudde bwe nziraba nange nzikwata ezo kubanga mba neesunga nange nfune kasente wabula kuba nzikwata bukwasi nange nengenda kuba bwe mara zifuna teziba zange ziba z'abalonzi bange kuba mba ngenda nange okubawa singa bwe ziba nga ziriko ekigambo nti zakukola mulimu bwe buti nga ngenda nga nkola mu constituency yange.
Ekisembayo omukolo guno tukimanyi nti parliamentary commission tubeerako ne shadow cabinet ne main front bench bannammwe tebalabikako emirimu ginasa okutambula nga opposition teriiwo.
Ekino nkiwulidde ku ggwe kubanga wetuyingiridde wano wetuviiridde ku parliament nga ba opposition tubalina wetuyingiridde wano mbadde sinakigenderera oba weebali oba tebaliiwo. Bwe baba weebali eddembe lyabwe bwe baba tebaliiwo era nalyo eddembe lyabwe naye ffe ng'eggwanga tugenda mu maaso.
Tulabye ng'embeera y'okwekandaga omulundi guno esusse banabwe waliwo lwe bajja ku ddembe ly'obuntu ne bafuluma ne bamala weeks 2 sabbiiti emu emabega era bali beekandaga. Enkola eno yenteesa empya eriwo oba wali okiwuliddeko abantu okwekandaga mbeera bweti?
Omanyi ne bwe tubeera ku fulowa ya parliament waliwo abajja ku fulowa ya parliament kwogera bwogezi eri ewaabwe bamulabye nti yayogedde ne bw'aba tayogera ekirimu ensonga. So kati n'okwekandaga abamu bakikozesa ng'ekkuba erinoonyamu akalulu. Bwe yeekandaga nga abantu bagamba nti twakulabye, kati ng'akivaawo nga eri abantu abagamba nti mwandabye, twakulabye naye wayogedde ki? Kati mu kwekandaga, kati kankubuuze, gwe olina taatawo bw'oba tokkiriziganya naye ovaamu mu nyumba n'odduka n'omulekawo, oba osirika ne weekeneenya taatawo byayogera n'ojja mu kyojjeemu, weekandaga n'ogenda oba omuwuliriza. Pulezidenti ye nannyini ggwanga, ye taata waffe ffenna ab'ekibiina n'ab'opposition. Kati nze nandibadde mbawa amagezi, bandibadde wano ne bawuliriza pulezidenti kyagenda okwogera. Kaakati oluvannyuma ne bagenda eri abantu be bakiikirira ne babagamba nti pulezidenti wano kye yayogedde kituufu oba si kituufu. N'olwekyo kubanga bali oludda oluwabula gavumenti, n'olwekyo ne bajjamu gye banaawabula gavumenti. Kaakati bwe baba tebaliiwo, pulezidenti banaamuwabula batya?
Tuyanzeege. Yes, tukyagenda maaso n'okulaga embeera nga bweri wano. Honorable bw'atu basamarizinze ensonga y'opposition okuba nti tebasobodde kubanga beetaba ate mu lutuula luno. Okutwaliza awamu bwe bityo birina okujjukizaako nti tuli okwogera ku nkulembeze eggwanga, bannaffe ab'opposition balina statements ze bajja nazo mu palamenti eno okujjukiza nga bwe bajja nga babuuza ku bannaabwe abaali bagenze maaso n'okusibwa. Mathias Mpuuga atwalidde ovuganya gavumenti mu ngeri emu, yajja nga yeebuuza ku contracts ezigenda maaso n'okuweebwa bwe yayita omukulembeze eggwanga. Mu ngeri emu bajja ne beebuuza ku nsimbi za covid, performance ya covid, saako n'enkola ya parish development model gye bagambye nti enengeri gyeyatambuzaamu emirimu mu ngeri eyali tesanyusa bulungi. Byebimu ku byo ebitonotono palamenti eno beesobodde okukola omwaka guno. Mpozi ne resolutions ziyite okusiima kugenze maaso n'okweyoleka abantu ab'enjawulo avudde mu bulamu bw'ensi eno, atwala omubaka ate oba atwala culture ey'eteeso y'omu ku baasiimwa. Ne tulaba omukulu Emmanuel Mutebire, ne tulaba n'abantu abalala, omukulu Jacob Bolanya n'abalala abagwa mu kkubo eryo ate abaasiimwa enkola y'emirimu. Mu kaseera kano Honorable Owebuliisa, Honorable Odduka, maze okulaga TV ate oyagala kundeka wano neyogezenze. Honorable gyebale kusema.
Awo gyebale.
Kigenda kitengo nyumi nnyo.
Kirungi lunaku lukulu.
Soko obuze ku bantu bakulaba live oli live ku TV.
Abona bandaba mbabuuzaako mwebale kutulaba leero olunaku lwa State of Nation Address, mwebale kubeera naffe goberera ebigenda mu maaso ku mbeera gye tulimu ng'eggwanga. Mwebale nnyo.
Okwogera kwa President ono bannayuganda bakulinze olowooza bintu ebikulu byandibadde biteekebwako essira abantu babulire namanya na constituency gy'ova?
Nze Alan Atugonza ndi member of parliament w'Ebuliisa constituency. Abantu kyemanyi kye balimu kye balinze ennyo byenfuna byaffe. Of course embeera y'ebintu eri waggulu nnyo. Manyi president ajja kwogera ku ebintu byenfuna, amafuta gali waggulu n'ebintu ebirala biri waggulu, kati manyi bakirinze ate manyi president waffe ajja kyogerako. N'ekirala by'obulimi tumusuubirira kwogera ku by'obulimi n'ebirala bingi by'amazzi nga bw'obimanyi.
Enkola ya parish model mu constituency Ebuliisa ekola etya? Wawulidde kasente kano kazze oba tunawo kawulira?
Nkola ya parish development model ffenna tugirinze, ffenna tuginamu essuubi, tusuubira gyegenda okuyimusa abantu baffe kubajja wansi ku parish level. So akasente ako sinaba kubifuna bulungi oba kazze, naye tukeesunze kubanga tumanyi eyinza otuyamba netutwala ku level ndala. Kyekikulu ekyo.
Abamu ku banno bagamba baali beemulugunya nga bagamba nti ensimbi zino engeri gyezigabwamu tematiza agamu amasaza amanene. Weewo kiri kitya teekeyo eri ki engeri gye bagabanyamu ensimbi zino nga tukimamba naddala ba Buganda Caucus? Sibina utula ku Buganda Caucus.
Nedda, nze ntula ku Bunyolo Caucus, nze ndi w'Ebuliisa yiri mu Bunyolo. Engeri gye bazigabamu manyi buli kintu tusooke tulinde kitandike. Bwe tunaalaba nga kirina ekizibu nga tukiddira nga tugiddamu nga tugireviewinga. Buli kintu tulina okutandika kyekikulu. Kati policy gye bateeseeko managinga parish development model katujuwemu chance at least mwaka gumu then tugirevising naye fena tujesunza
tweyanze mu kaseera kano kanegate ku mubaka gwe nasoma naye mu kibiina kyekimu abamu bakajangu mwali mugamba muzendi wa UPE honorable so obusoka ojjako ku masiki obuuze ku abantu mbagambye tutwali ffenna ku university ddamu okinoganye nga tonayogera mannyako honorable gye baleko ssebo wonyumye bagambe
manya gange omubaka okuva ebuyaga Segiri nyono twasoma babiri ku university UCU kati ayogera bingi naye nga bwekityo bwekiri
weewaawo tudde ku kinyusi olunaku olwaleero ekedde otya
no kati tuze wano president okutubulira nga government bwekoze naddala nnyo ku economy kubanga kati buli omu yenna buli muntu yenna atubuuza agamba kati economy etambudde etya buli olaba omuntu wa bulijjo agamba buli kimu basic need tebagisobola tulaba criminality bakola batya kubanga obunavu bw'emisango bugenda kuba bungi abantu bagenda kufa makomera gagenda kuba mangi kubanga buli kimu kati beeyi erinye waggulu president twagala tulabe atubuulidde atya ate tugenda tambula tutya ekintu ekyo nga bwe kiraba so state of the national address twagala tuve mu bya bulijjo okutubuulira history okuva 1986 byali bwe biti n'ebintu ng'ebyo infrastructure gye tubuulidde eyo tugimanyi naye kati ekikola abantu baagala okulaba nga basobola basic needs zaabwe zitambudde zitya strategies ziri zitya president agamba ki financial ya ewedde kati eddako kiri kitya of course tumanyi agenda tubulira ekya parish model ekyo tukimanyi naye parish model bwejja mu bantu nga tebalina sente kiba kintu kirala nnyo abantu bwebanga tebalina sente kiba kitegeeza na zino sente z'obawadde eza parish model bagenda zirya kati ogenda bateeka mukomera kyekintu ekikulu nnyo president gyetwagala atubuulire
finally honorable sente za defense muyisiza mubalirya nga ziwulikise nti nnyingi nnyo mwatunuulidde ki okwongera ensimbi zino mbu mwayisiza ne supplementary ya biliyoni 152 za defense kiki
kati bw'oba olabye uganda tuinvestinga nnyo mu defense bw'olaba mu east africa uganda is a stabilizing factor uganda is stabilizing east african countries olaba drc eyagala ffe kenya eyagala ffe tanzania baagala ffe naffe munda muno tubadde tufunye obuzibu bungi ojjukira ba adf baali wano bakuba abantu bano ojjukira ku lwakatumba kati defense erina okuba y'amaanyi ennyo kati ne terrorism etutawanyiza nnyo ng'eggwanga bwe tuba tugamba budget erina okuba ennungi tetwagala kwekwasa tetwagala president ayeekwasa mbuno parliament yayisa bulungi mbuno kati ba adf bakola bano abagundi abava DRC batawanya ne bagundi tulaba mbuno eggwanga ku defense tekirina buzibu
ekintu kya minisita okuleeta supplementary ng'enkera mugenda okuyisa embali y'eggwanga honorable okyogerako kitwagira aba supplementary tulaba nga ne speaker simusanyufu ng'ababaka ba parliament ekintu kino kya bulijjo oba kwolwo kyagwa bugwe
kati ekintu kino twagezaako okyetegereza waliwo abantu abali munda eyo nga baagala kukolesa sente mbazikozesa obubi naye kati fe nga parliament no auditor general tugambye terifulumya sente nga teziri approved by parliament nekyokubiri terikola activities nga tezimanyiddwa nga tetuziyisizza kubanga tetwagala oli afulumye sente nga yeyagalidde obanga ziri mu allowance bakola kintu welikyabo kubanga eringa emergency naye tugyetegereze terifulumya sente nga tetutegedde mbuno tufulumiza sente tutya
ekisembayo tulabye baminisita bakola emirimu nga baze president yeyandagira twagiraba ku ripooti ya kosase
president nobwakugamba olina ekintu ekyo kikola ng'oyita mu mateeka tosobola kungamba muno nkikoze kubako president yayogera president bw'aba akugambye mbuno okola ekintu kino oyina okufollowinga amateeka gagambye eki bali abakola ebintu ebyo baba balina ebintu byabwe processes tuziraba twebuuza lwaki ofulumya sente nga tofollowinga procedures za government lwaki omala gafulumya sente nga tofollowinze procedures obubeera bubbi
Honorable Eric Musana Obi Alumni tugenda kubanga tuddako mu studio katono nnyo ate tulina be tugenda okubanga twekenneenya ate tukumene nkujukiza nti olunaku olwaleero ne mutabani w'olanya yawangudde akalukomolo agenda okubanga alayira mu butongole bwe tuba mu studio tugenda kuddamu ate tulabe biki ebiddawo oba ebikulu ebiri mu mukolo guno ogw'okwogera kwa pulezidenti eri eggwanga mbozi n'ekirala kusembayo sipiika amaze okubanga atuuka mukyala Anita Mongo.
Webale nnyo muna Progress Segirinya opalo tuwadde embeera ate ne feel eri ekkololo omukolo tegunnaba kubuguma guli awo oli awo gwande bugumya gulimba naffe abali ku ludda oluvuganya gavumenti naye nga bwagambye munaffe Andrew Joke ndowooza ajja kuba akubira mu office ya speaker ndowooza
administration of author ejja kubeera wano eri ku gundi kuno
eri ku order paper yes nadi musugenda agenda mu chambers naye ndowooza finally bakanyiza abeerenga jeno akuba ekirayiro lwaki babigasibwamu ate sobola kulinda ku nsooka bivaawo nuko tugenda mu gundi
anti bulijjo okulayira bakukolera mu sitting
anti sitting esooka after gundi yenyini plenary esooka after nga maze okubanga alondebwa naye ndowooza mu kino engaba batesitese ndowooza tujja batwongera okumanya ensonga bwe ziri naye kyekyo ekitambula olwaleero kya kwogera kwa speaker kwogera kwa president naye waliwo ensonga omukulu gyagambye munnaffe naasembyeyo awadde ensonga ya parish model nogaa toyinza kuba muntu mwavu nsimbi zakwewola kubanga president kyala yalubira ye money economy money economy ebitundu ebyo 39 39% abantu bakolera olubuto lukaloka baagala okubeera nga naye omuntu gw'ogamba nti akolera olubuto lukaloka agende yewole sente involvement fund agenda azikozesa w'omulala naye nga tasobola kwetuusaako biri basic kitegeeza ensimbi ejja zimuwa tajja zitwalamu ekyo kyennyini byagenda okuteekamu tebitambula tebitegeeza
no kyangu nnyo sente bagenda zirya kuba sente zino tukimanyi nti bajja kubanga baziwa groups mukoze groups z'abantu bakumi oba bameka bakwate sente bazibawo ba milioni 3 ba milioni 1 ba mitwalo 5 mutandikeko ka project naye kyangu nnyo abantu okulabanga tekijja kusoboka tusobola kukwata sente ogenda investing oba oli awo ate nga tolina kyakulyayo waka obanga abaana tebalina kakulya so kyangu nnyo ndowooza ensonga gyayogedde ntuufu Honorable Eric Musana nti n'embeera eno eriwo mu kiseera kino yandibanga ejja kubanga ejja kukosa project eno ejja eya parish development model ti abantu b'osuubira nti ogenda bawa sente baziteeke mu projects then bazikomyewo kuba eno revolving fund bazikomyewo n'abalala nabakola ki nabasobola ozikozesa kyandibanga kijja kuzibwalira abantu abo kuzikomya ate nga kibadde nga kibeerawo bulijjo esente z'abavubuka ezaweebwa abavubuka abasinga badduka ne ku byalo nga bategedde nti
olaba kitegeeza ekibalo mu economics ekikulaga nti economic activity etetambula akadde kano omuntu omuwadde sente ateeke mu economic activity economic activity erina okuba nga etambula omuntu ng'asevinga naye omuntu tasobola kusevinga tasobola kukola mulimu gwanjawulo naye muwadde sente akola omulimu mu economy etatambula bulungi kitegeeza nti supply ne demand tebitambula bwe ba tebitambula tusobola kusevinga
ate jjukira nti abasinga ojja kwekanga nga abasinga projects nga zitandika butandisi projects mpya oba okitegera kyeŋŋamba singa abadde nga aziteeka mu project etambula oba mu business etambula ekyo kibeera kyanjawulo naye kati twogera ku projects enyingi zijja kuba nyingi nga zitandika butandisi nga babawadde esente nti kati mutandikewo ki mulunde enkoko temuzikola ki temuzirundangako
nezitambula zitambulira ku pesi nga ya wansi bwotula economic activity olwaliro ggwanga lyonna tuli ku 3.3%
eya economic growth
bwotutambula okugenda mu maaso yembeera gyetutambuliramu singa tubale tutambudde nga tuli ku 6% wakiri nga bwe twalina projection eya financial year 2021 2022 naye still omuntu ogenda kumuwa sente agenda kugambulinga mbeera ya kugambulinga bugambulinzi kafuna tekafuna naye mwotadde ensimbi ya gavumenti gye twogerako yateddwamu ensimbi kati empitirivu n'osuddeyo waggula Sseggirinya oba oli awo baba alina bafunyefunyeyo awo twongere okumanya ddala n'enteekateeka eno naye ng'eno bintu byetusuubira oba oli awo economic sense tebikola bulungi ne president alina okuba nga wa abantu essuubi tuyinza kutambula tutya gwe Sseggirinya tuddeyo twongere okumanya ate enteekateeka nga bweri ate tusaawe ekkololo omukulembeze atuuse kyekiddako akadde konna okuva kati goli ku ground tubuulire enteekateeka eriwo akadde kano.
Yes, tweyanze Muhammad Wamala ne tiimu mukola omulimu munene nnyo. Nkujjukiza nti tukyagenda maaso n'okulaba ate okwogera kwa president gabe kuyimiridde ate wano ekkololo kyetinda bandi yatutendesedde okubanga ekuba okusanyusa oba okubeesabeesa abali wano era nga mu kaseera kano ne speaker parliament atuuse mu ngeri emu nkujjukiza nti ne taatawo omugenzi Jacob Olanyali speaker w'eggwanga naye atuuse azze kwerekerako muzikulu nga bamulayiza negatibwako eyali minisita w'amasannyalaze omukyala Irene Muloni for gender balance. Honorable nja kusaba obubaka masiki ogirejiremu kati ni abantu bakwote buliro. Honorable oli otya ng'owuumi nnyo
webale kusimba munange gyendi ndi bulungi
kigenda giti obadde ombuzeeko ennaku zino
nedda anti tubadde mu riseesi era kati olwamaliriza budget ne tubeera mu riseesi kati olunaku lwaleero tuzze president waffe abeere nga atubuulira engeri eggwanga lyaffe bwe liyimiridde biki ebisinga okutuluma engeri ki gyategekekamu okubikwatamu tulabe nti embeera z'abantu zibeerako nnungi ebyo byendabanga ekikulu ennyo era nsuubira nti abantu bonna bwe balina essuubi lingi baagala kuwulira mukulembeze waffe agamba atya ku bintu bino ebitunyiga ebbeeyi y'ebintu ebbeeyi y'amafuta buli kintu kirinnye waggulu abantu beesibye enkoba naye bagamba enkoba tujja kuzeesiba paka ddi ki ekigenda mu maaso ekijja okutuyamba kale ffenna tulina essuubi lingi naye mukama waffe nga bwe mumanyi musajja alaba ewala bino ebintu byonna byonna nkimanyi nti abiraba bulungi era ekigambo kyanaatugamba tubeere nti tuba tubigoberera osanga embeera zaffe zinaabanga zikyukako.
Engineer njala nkuteeke mu doketi gy'osinga otegeera ennyo ebyamasannyalaze waliwo achievements ekolebwa bw'oba otunatunulamu mu myaka esatu gye tukubye emabega okusinga bwaleka ministry nakati bweri?
Of course nagenda okuva mu ministry nga ebintu bingi bye tutegese era ebintu bitambula mbiraba bitambula tewali mutawaana ebikwata ku mafuta bitambula ebikwata ku masannyalaze entegeka eri ali mu maaso naye projects zigenda mu maaso kubanga kati nga bwe tuli amasannyalaze tulina mangi ekikulu nti badde okweyongera okusaasaanya gabeere nti gabuna eggwanga lyonna abantu babeere nga bagakozesa awo ebbeeyi y'amasannyalaze ebeere ng'ekola atya ng'ekka.
Abantu bawesinayo bakukuluma nti amasannyalaze balinga ababeerabira gaaka mulundi gumu bakosa generator waliwo enteekateeka eyinza okujja amasannyalaze ejinja negakuba paka Arua negakuba paka Zombo kisoboka nga gwe engineer?
Abantu ba West Nile nabagamba bulungi nga nkyali minisita ne tutegeka okutwalayo waaya ennene n'emiti ne towers ez'ebyuma amasannyalaze amangi nga gava ki gava ku daamuzi zaffe Karuma ne Jinja kati ekigenda mu maaso project eyo yatandikibwako era nabagamba nti mulina okubeera bagumiikiriza kubanga tebasobola kuzimba layini eyo mu lunaku lumu oba omwezi gumu oba omwaka gumu bitwala kumpi emyaka 2 ne bagamba nti mubeere bagumiikiriza naye era twabayambangako ne tubateerawo ku generator ez'amaanyi okubayambangako ng'eno layini bwe bagizimba era ekuzimba layini project yegenda mu maaso naye babeere bagumiikiriza gavumenti tebeerabiranga kubanga entegeka yonna yakolebwa era kati implementation yegenda mu maaso.
Finally embalirira y'omwaka guno ebyamasannyalaze ogitunulidde otya ggwe nga engineer eyali mu doketi eno akitegeera obulungi?
Ekirungi nti president waffe amanyi ki ekitambuza ebyenfuna byaffe mu ggwanga era akimanyi bulungi omugaso gw'amasannyalaze nga bwe gwetaagisa gubeere nga amakolero gabeera mangi kubanga gaba geetaaga amasannyalaze n'olwekyo entegeka mu ya bajeti ey'okulabirira nti projects ez'amasannyalaze ezigenda okuyamba okusaasaana mu ggwanga era n'okuyamba amakolero bainvesita ge bataddewo bigenda mu maaso kale nze ndi mumativu ndi musanyufu nti ekikwata ku sekita eyo pulezidenti akiraba bulungi ate era n'entegeka yaakyo twakikola bulungi
tuyanzege maama honorable Paul Katinya abantu bakulaba mawulire leero jangu obereko live wano mubabuuzeeko nate era otubulire okwogera kwa pulezidenti biki byolowooza bituba tusuubiramu ennyo.
Amaanya gange ndi honorable Isaac Katenya member of parliament wa Bulambuli constituency. Webale nnyo mwami Segirinya olwaleero tuli wano nga bamemba ba parliament nga tuyimiridde ne president nga tusuubira addressing eggwanga ku bintu ebikwatagana ne hiking prices oba okulinnya kw'ebintu bya bbeeyi n'amafuta kwegamba ebintu bingi bitagenze bulungi ku parish development model kwate ku budget tulabe nti ebintu bikako wansi kuba abantu baffe bali bubi nnyo era njagala kubeera omukulu his excellency the president aba ministers naffe bamembers ba parliament tubeere nga tukaanya tutule wansi tulabe nti ebintu bikenderako bbeeyi abantu baffe babeere mu ggwanga lirungi naffe era kikuluma nga bamembers ba parliament kuba kati entambula yaffe si nnungi amafuta galinye ate nga tulina emmotoka zinywa amafuta mangi kale kyekyo sebo tusuubira president okukendeezako ku bbeeyi y'ebintu mu ggwanga.
Tuyanzege mu kaseera kano twali mu kusago no bategeeza nti president yatuuse dda abaka no badduka. Honorable yogerako Oluganda. Honorable sense okula.
Jebaleko. Zidi abalekisebo.
Oli mbaka wangu uwome nnyonnyole era abantu bagamba.
Vaya kasebo. Kwa gago.
Obagago.
Sebo.
Amanya go gwa mu constituency ki.
Constituency yange amanya Agago North County. Agago North County and Agago District. Amanya yange Okot John Amos, member of parliament Agago North County.
Oze ku mukolo gw'okwegerako eri eggwanga biki byagala president byabayogerako naddala mu kitundu gy'ova?
I think he's going to dwell so much about the security. He will talk briefly, I think, on the issues regarding the high cost of living. And I know he's going to push all the blame to the war in the Ukraine. With that war, we would have got at least a step forward, because you cannot allow your house to be on fire and you blame the neighbors about it. Can you not put the water on the fire so that at least things would calm down? So it is like, to me, we would have been so conscious to see how to rectify this thing. But of course, you know, all this thing comes after one full year. In this one full year, the 12 months period of time that we have been, we have just come from an elections, and we know always after elections the things are not easy.
In summary, bannaffe abalaba mu kaseera kano omukulembeze eggwanga atuuse era nga agenda okutambula okutuuka wagenda okuwanizibwa speaker parliament omukyala Anita Among okumwaniriza nate kubanga olunaku lulwe nga bwagenda okunyonyola kuteekateekeregwa nekandekanye mu ssaati njeru n'enkofiira eya rawundi nga bwetugezaako okusigira ekifaananyi gwe alaba SOT TV mu kaseera kano bwaveeyo ate emikolo oba olutuulo lwa parliament tutandika mu butongole okutegeeza eggwanga biki ebituukiddwako naye nga okudda emabega tulina omubaka okooti agezaako notutemera biki byasuubira mu kwogera kwa president. In summary, Honorable, we are running out of time. We are still explaining what you do expect the presentation from the head of state. You talked about the escalating prices and inflation.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Why are you so much optimistic? These are the issues he's supposed to be handling.
Well, you know, this is the current matters, the current issues which are taking place in this country now. Everywhere you go, whether from the western Uganda, go to northern Uganda, go to eastern Uganda, go everywhere, people are really suffering because of these high prices increment. And of course, we are not after the dieters. We are after what can we do so that we can get food into our tables, so that we can be in position to take people to the hospital, so that we can be in position to pay school fees. These are things which we need to tackle it. Worst to the people who live in the cities, people who live in the urban areas. You need to buy water from National Water and Sewage Corporation. You need to buy for electricity. You need to buy for all those things. You need money. Which the money is not there.
Of course, we know with experience, always after election, any election, national elections, after 1 year after, things normally don't go well. You remember in the elections of 2011, 2012, and whatever, things were bad. Things were not moving well, simply because after elections, always, there's inflations and prices always go up. So these are something that we Ugandans, we should have to get used about it, so that next time some of these things should not be something that we keep crying about.
Honorable, thank you so much. Let me not waste a lot of your time when the head of state is
Thank you
already
so
in. Other
Thank
things
you
for
so
your
much.
time.
Let us focus and hear what is going to deliver. Then later, Parliament is going to debate this very report is giving us. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Abadde mbaka okoti ate abadde agenda maaso era yagaddewo essaawa yaffe eno nga tugenda ate okulaba ate okwogera kwa president. Naye bisinza okuba nga byewuunyisa, amazima gennyini sinalaba ku opposition n'omu yatuuse wano, era nga ebifo bibadde biteekeddwateekeddwa aba NRM be babituddemu ate okuziba eddibu eryo. President atuuse, pozi waliwo minisita wano gwe tubadde tusingira ddala ali mu kkubajja mukyala Namuganza, tusuubira nti ayinza otusamarayizingira olwogero kigambo nga kimu oba bibiri. Fazali atubuuzeeko obubuuza, simanyi oba anaasobola okutuwa kadde akanotonoto. Honorable, tusaba obuuze ku bantu afazali bategere. Honorable Minister Namuganza, buuza ku bantu kamasiki obagiramu kati.
Prayers. Almighty God, who in your infinite wisdom and providential goodness have appointed the offices of leaders and parliaments for the welfare of society and the just government of humanity, we beseech you to look upon with your abundant favor these your servants, who whom you have been pleased to call to a performance of such important trusts in this land. Let your blessing descend upon them here assembled, and grant that they may, as in your presence, treat and consider all matters that shall come under their deliberation in so just and faithful a manner as to promote your honor and glory, and to advance the good of those whose interests you have committed to their charge. Amen.
Amen. Proclamation by the Right Honorable Speaker of Parliament.
Whereas Article 101, Clause Sub-Rule 1 of the Constitution mandates His Excellency the President at the beginning of each session of Parliament to deliver to Parliament an address on the state of nation. Aware that the first session of the 11th Parliament commences on 24th day, May 2021. Noting that it is expedient that Parliament of Uganda receives the address of the President of the State of the Nation. Now, therefore, in exercise of powers conferred upon the Speaker by the Constitution under Article 95(2), Rule 17, Sub-Rule 1 of Parliamentary Rules of Procedure, I hereby proclaim that the Parliament shall sit at Kololo Independence Ground today, Tuesday, 7th day of June 2022, at 14 hours, to receive the address of His Excellency the President of the State of the Nation, and further, in exercise of powers conferred upon the Speaker by the Constitution, the Parliament Powers and Privileges Act, Cap 258, and the Rules of Procedure of Parliament of Uganda, it's hereby proclaimed and declared that the said Kololo Independence Ground are to be the precincts of Parliament of Uganda for their first said purpose. Given under my hand at Parliament House, Kampala, this 7th day of June 2022, Anita Annette Among, Speaker of Parliament.
Item number 4, administration of oaths.
Your Excellency, the President, Madam Speaker, and honorable members, on the 28th of March 2022, His Excellency the President of the Republic of Uganda, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, announced to the country the death of the Right Honorable Dr. Jacob Lokori Olanya, the former Speaker of Parliament and member of the 11th Parliament. This rendered the position of the Member of Parliament for Moro County vacant. In accordance with Article 81, Clause 2 of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda, I did notify the Electoral Commission of the existence of this vacancy in Parliament. On the 26th May 2022, a by-election was held, and the Electoral Commission has in writing communicated the results to the Clerk of Parliament, indicating that Ojok Andrew Olanya was elected as the member representing Omoro County. Madam Speaker, the member-elect is available and is ready to take and subscribe to the oath of allegiance and of Member of Parliament. Madam Speaker, I seek your indulgence to allow him to come forward and take the oath.
Permission granted to allow Mr. Andrew Ojok Olanya to access the chambers.
I, Ojok Andrew Olanya, swear in the name of the Almighty that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the Republic of Uganda, and that I will preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution. So help me God. I, Ojok Andrew Olanya, swear in the name of the Almighty God that I will give faithful service to this Parliament and support and uphold the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda as by law established. So help me God.
Papa, our hands.
Honorable Andrew Ojok Olanya, I want to congratulate you and welcome you to 11th Parliament of Uganda. As you are aware, you came into this Parliament to replace your late father, Right Honorable Jacob Olanya, who was a great leader, a very good legislator, a very good mentor. The people of Moro have entrusted you with all of that. And from that, you need to represent the people of Moro effectively. I would like to thank you and your family. I would also want to thank the President for delivering the success of Ojok Andrew Olanya. And I want to thank the father who is here, just sitting next to me, the Chief Justice, who is a parent now to Ojok. You're most welcome. We are very grateful to have you in the 11th Parliament. Congratulations once again. I am now giving you the Constitution, Constitution and the rules of procedure. This will help you in your legislative role. Congratulations. There.
Item number 5, communication from the chair.
Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Uganda, Your Excellency, the Vice President, His Lordship, the Chief Justice, who is also here as a parent to Honorable Jock and Rolanya, the Right Honorable Deputy Speaker of Parliament, His Lordship, the Deputy Chief Justice, the National Vice Chairman of NRM, the Right Honorable Prime Minister and Leader of Government Business, the Leader of Opposition in Parliament, Cabinet Ministers and Ministers of State, Honorable Members of Parliament, Your Excellency, the Ambassadors and High Commissioners, the Dean and the Councillor of the COP, fellow speakers and presiding officers from neighboring countries, that is from South Sudan and from Rwanda, you're most welcome. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is my distinct honor and privilege to welcome you to this sitting of Parliament. As you recall, we prorogued the House on 20th May 2022 in accordance with the Article 95(3) of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda. The prorogation marked the end of the first session of the 11th Parliament of Uganda as stipulated under Article 95(4) of the Constitution of Uganda, which provides that a session of Parliament shall be held at least once a year, but a period between one session and the next following session shall be less than 12 months. Today's sitting marks the opening of the second session of the 11th Parliament, pursuant to Article 101, Sub-Article 1 of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda. His Excellency will deliver his address to the nation on matters regarding the country. This address on the state of the nation will be the second in the 11th Parliament. Besides being a constitutional obligation, the State of Nation address is an integral part of the parliamentary tradition. It is in an avenue for the President as the fountain of honor to enumerate the government's scorecard against the targeted laid down goals of the previous State of Nation and communicate the government's legislative agenda for the following session of Parliament. As representatives of the people, it is to our best interest to listen and take cognizance of the government's milestones. At an appropriate time, the House will exhaustively debate the President's address on the State of Nation. The first session of Parliament has been particularly a difficult one. While we began in the earnest on 24th May 2021 with the election of the Speaker and the Deputy Speaker, tragedy befell us on 20th March 2022 when we lost our beloved Right Honorable Jacob Olanya Lokori, a very disheartening time and painful occurrence that even we continue feeling up to now. Even as we continue to recollect ourselves to recover from the grief and pursue the big aspirations that our departed former Speaker had for this House, I want the nation to know that Right Honorable Jacob Oulanyah will never be forgotten. We thank God that his legacy will survive in this House through his son, that is Honorable Ojok Andrew Oulanyah, who joined us this afternoon, and after taking his oath as a member of Parliament. Ojok, you're most welcome. I take this singular opportunity to ask that we rise and observe a moment of silence in his honor.
May his soul rest in eternal peace.
Honorable members, while we warm up to the commencement of the second session of the 11th Parliament, I want to implore you to reflect on the performance of the first session, both at institutional level and personal level, as people's representatives. At institutional level, in pursuit for its legislative role, during the first session, this House, Your Excellency, passed 26 bills, successfully passed 26 bills. And the bills are indicated in the booklet that you have, but the most important bill is the East African Crude Oil Pipeline, Bill 2021, which is helping this country so much. By the end of the first session, 23 out of the 28 bills tabled were passed by this House, while 2 bills were withdrawn from the House. Only 3 bills are still pending at committee, and this is the Kampala Capital City Amendment Bill 2022, the Public Health Amendment Bill 2021, and the Local Content Bill 2022. I implore the committees to ensure that at the end of this session, whose commencements we mark today, we register 100% performance in legislation. A total of 31 reports from committees were adopted by the House. Congratulations, members. The details of the business transacted can be found in the booklet that you have. That is from page 26 to page 41 of the State of Nation Handbook given to you this afternoon. As far as representation is concerned, members continue to freely, efficiently, and effectively exercise their respective role in the committees, the House, and various parliamentary and interparliamentary arenas. I am optimistic that the 11th Parliament will do better than any other parliament. In furtherance of the Article 94 4B of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda, 1995, and Rule 121 of the Rules of Procedure, the right of members to introduce a private member's bill reigned throughout the first session of the 11th Parliament. The House granted 12 members of Parliament leave to introduce the private members' bills. And the private members' bills are also included in that handbook. In pursuit of its oversight mandate, the 11th Parliament has utilized the avenues provided for in the Rules of Procedure to hold the executive accountable notably through questions and motions. During the first session, a total of 112 questions were put forth by members and responded by the Prime Minister, out of which 3 of them were oral questions that were responded. And in addition to that, 71 resolutions were passed by the House from the various motions. These resolutions await issuance of the Treasury Memorandum and action taken by the Executive, and this will help us in effective running of the House. And this is in line with the Rule 220 of the Rules of Procedure. I would like to commend the members of Parliament and the staff of Parliament for their dedication to service, and I pledge on behalf of the Parliamentary Commission to offer you all the support that you will need in this session that we are going to. Honorable members, as we embark on the second session of the 11th Parliament, society continues to grapple with the numerous challenges, notably the increased cost of living and its attendant difficulties. I challenge all of us to work together and overcome these challenges as to improve the lives of our people. Let us rise above lamentations and tirelessly work towards diminishing and supporting the programmatic solutions. Leadership should be tailored towards solutions and not mere rhetoric lamentations. Honorable members, pursuant to Rule 187.1 of the Rules of Procedure, that requires the designation of members of sectoral committees at the beginning of every session, I urge the whips to expedite the designation of members in various committees so that we can kickstart the session as soon as possible. As presiding officers, we expect much better performance of the House and its committees during this session. This will require dedication of both members and staff. I expect, and we expect, more public consultation by committees in the execution of their business. 2, evaluation of evidence in both committee and the House. That is evidence-based legislation. 3, regular reporting by committees on their undertakings. 4, regular attendance and participation of members in committees and the House. 5, continued familiarization with the rules of procedure and the legislative tools available for greater efficiency and effectiveness of members. As the chairperson of the Business Committee, I undertake keenly to follow the progression of the business referred to the committees. Our collective success will depend on our individual commitments, determination, and consistency in executing our mandate. Honorable members, in furtherance of Rule 10 of Rules of Procedure of Parliament of Uganda, and specifically Rule 4A, which stipulates that while making a statement in this House, the President shall be heard in silence, and his address shall not be followed by any comment or question. I will allow adequate time in the future for us to exhaustively debate on the President's address on the State of Nation, including a right of reply for the Leader of Opposition in the House as per Rule 53(1) of the Rules of Procedure. I therefore urge you to listen to the President in silence as we internalize his exposition on the state of nation, and at an appropriate time, the detailed text of the President's address will be availed to all members through the designated channels. I thank you all your kind attention, and may God bless you. May God bless you, and may God also bless our country, Uganda, and preserve and protect it. I would like to most sincerely thank our friends, the Speaker of Parliament of South Sudan. Right Honorable, where are you? Can you stand up just to wave? You're most welcome. And then the Deputy Speaker of the Republic of Rwanda, you're most welcome. Thank you for coming, and thank you for honoring our invitation and gracing this occasion. With these few words, I want to remind the members that the alert from the health authorities in the country have raised a serious bell or a serious warning on COVID-19. Most people have been tested and they have been found positive. So I want to caution all of us to be leaders that we are, and we have responsibility to take necessary precautions and avoid the infection. And as we go to our constituencies, I want to request you to educate your constituents on the same COVID-19. I say all this for God and my country.
Item number 6, invitation by the Right Honorable Speaker to His Excellency the President to deliver to Parliament an address on the state of the nation in accordance with Article 101(1) of the Constitution.
Your Excellency the President, it is your mandate under Article 1011 of the Constitution of Uganda to deliver to the country the address on the state of nation. The purpose for which this House has convened here today is basically that. It is therefore my singular honor, Your Excellency, to invite you to deliver the address to the nation.
Her Excellency the Vice President of Uganda, the Right Honorable Speaker of Parliament, His Lordship the Chief Justice, Right Honorable Deputy Speaker, Right Honorable Prime Minister, Secretary General of the NRM, Vice Chairman of NRM, honorable members of Parliament and ministers, members of the diplomatic corps, ladies and gentlemen. In fulfillment of the constitutional requirement under Article 101, Clause 1 of the Constitution, Pandisha. In fulfillment of that article, clause 1 of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda, I am here to deliver the State of the Nation Address 2022. Greetings to all Ugandans and to the honorable members. Nawasalimia wote, nyinyi wote. On an occasion like this one, I'm reminded of the parable in the book of Matthew, chapter 7, verses 24 to 27. This is the parable of two men, a foolish one and a wise one. The foolish man built his house on sandy ground, and when the storm came, the house collapsed. The wise man built his house on hard ground, and even when the storm came, the house withstood the force. The exact quotation goes as follows, in quotes: "Therefore, everyone who hears these words of mine and puts them in practice is like a wise man who built his house on the rock. The rain came down, the streams rose, and the winds blew and beat against the house. Yet it did not fall because it had its foundation on the rock. But everyone who hears these words of mine and does not put them into practice is like a foolish man who built his house on sand. The rain came down, the streams rose, and the winds blew and beat against that house, and it fell with a great crash." End of quote. Similarly, when the national resistance movement was fighting, and when we took power in 1986, we put out the 10 points program that was later summarized into the 4 principles of the NRM. Point number 5 of the NRM 10 points program set out to build, in quotes, an independent, self-sustaining national economy, end of quotes, by creating backward and forward linkages in our economy. Later, we summarized the 10 points into the 4 NRM principles of patriotism, Pan-Africanism, socio-economic transformation, and democracy. Some myopic people thought that this was sandy ground where the NRM had constructed the House of Uganda. However, the onslaughts to which Uganda has been subjected in the last 2 or 3 years have proven that the Uganda House the NRM has constructed in the last 60 years, including the preparatory years before 1986, has been built on hard ground indeed. Remember the locusts, the rising waters of the lakes, the floating islands, the landslides, the terrorist bombs, the COVID-19, and now the rising commodity prices artificially caused by the Ukrainian war. In spite of all these, the Ugandan economy, by the budget time in the next few days, will be standing at US dollars 45.7 billion by the exchange rate method and at US dollars 131.6 billion by the PPP method. This means that the GDP per capita is now $1,046. You remember the entrance points for the lower, the entrance point, not points, the entrance point for the lower middle income status is US dollars 1,036. We have now passed that figure. Congratulations. However, to be declared a middle-income country, you need to sustain this for 2 to 3 consecutive years. I am confident we shall overperform in achieving that. Remember that our economy expanded in spite of the lockdowns caused by COVID-19 and in spite of the ever-increasing population. You can see that the size of the economy, when compared to the population that is always growing fast, has grown in the form of sugar, maize, milk, chicken, eggs, bananas, cement, mitaimbwa, steel bars, soap, beers, etc., etc. This global crisis actually presents Uganda with plenty of opportunities. I saw on the news that Malaysia had banned the export of chicken. You know, I've been having issues with our brothers in Kenya. Sometimes they take our chicken, sometimes they stop. Sometimes they take the eggs, sometimes they stop. But now, the whole world is crying for chicken and for eggs. Malaysia has banned the export of chicken, and that India has banned the export of sugar. President Biden of the United States was crying for baby formula, etc. Many of these products are the ones that have been in surplus in Uganda. We just need to deal with a few quality and biohazard issues. The issue of aflatoxins will be dealt with by the proper harvest and drying methods, as well as the method of embracing the biotechnology. The door to our direct exports will be opened when we, the cattle owners, vaccinate our cattle twice a year. If the government does not have the money to pay for the vaccines, we, the farmers, can do it. I am a farmer. I am one of the farmers, as you know. With 1,000 cattle, I would need Uganda shillings 15 million in a year for foot and mouth disease. With 1,000 cows, what is 15 million? I can pay this. So that even if the government doesn't have money, I am calling on the cattle keepers, let's vaccinate our cattle. Kama watu wa serikali hawana pesa, wacha sisi tufanye wenyewe. Given the lucrative export markets that will become available, like the one of Algeria, of US dollars 1.2 billion, this cost on the farmers will make sense. Because the Algerians have the demand for milk. But they say, we hear you have got foot and mouth. They would buy the milk, all this milk we were talking about, but they fear these recurrent episodes of foot and mouth disease. The other crucial vaccine will be the one of CBPP, what the Banyankwere call Chihaha. With 1,000 cattle, we need Uganda shillings 850,000 in a year. So I really call upon the farmers to vaccinate at our cost for these two vaccines especially, the foot and mouth and the Chaha one, the CBPP, so that this issue, which stops our exports of milk and milk products, is dealt with. All this capacity that has enabled the house of the wise man to withstand the force of the storm is long before the implementation of our parish development model, whose end result is to tap the production capacity of all the 7 million households in agriculture, relying on 7 high-value commodities of coffee, fruits, dairy products, poultry, pigs, fish farming, and food growing for those of 4 acres and less. Honorable members, I have been working on these issues for the last 60 years. I'm normally polite. I don't want to appear as if I am teaching old people what to do. But this time I must be very frank. And when I go up country, I will no longer be polite. These 7 activities, I have researched on them. They can give good money if you have got a small piece of land of 4 acres or less, and they have got a big global demand. This is why I am insisting on them. Coffee, fruits, dairy products, milk, poultry, pigs. I don't eat pigs, but I have no problem if you do. Fish farming, and food for the homestead. This is the medicine for the 4 acres and less. If you can't do all of them, do some. The ones with land that is bigger than 4 acres can, in addition, grow sugarcane, cotton, maize, tobacco, tea, cassava, bananas, do ranching, etc. Because the country needs these products for industry, for food, or as inputs to the intensive agriculture mentioned earlier, the agriculture of the 7 high-value activities. The agriculture of the commodities in the latter category we describe as extensive agriculture. Really, we must stop confusing ourselves. There is a difference between intensive agriculture, where you have got a smaller piece of land and you do enterprises which give good income, even when they are done on a smaller piece of land, as opposed to extensive agriculture, where you need big piece of land and you can make money by, although getting small amount in 1 acre, because you have done many acres, you get good money. Like cotton, When I went to Ajumani, I found people talking of cotton. But how much do you get from 1 acre? Of cotton in a year? General Moses told me that they were getting 1 million. But if you are a person of 2 acres, like some of the people in West Nile have, how will you get out of poverty? With 1 acre put under cotton and the other acre under cassava for food crop. How will you get out of poverty? That's why we say no. That acre of yours, don't put it under cotton. Put it under coffee or fruits. Because with those, you can get much more than the 1 million. But the country needs cotton. We need cotton. And it should be grown by somebody with more land. Although you are getting 1 million from 1 acre of cotton, if you have got 10 acres, that's 10 million. If you have got 100 acres, that's 100 million. If you have got 1,000 acres, that's 1 billion. So cotton can make money provided you do it on a big scale. The same with the ebikado, sugar cane, like our people in Usoga. The same with duma, maize, kasori, and other crops, tobacco. You should therefore be clear. Don't confuse our people in the villages anymore. There's a difference between intensive agriculture for small pieces of land and extensive agriculture for big pieces of land. The agriculture of the commodities in the latter category we describe as extensive agriculture, where you get less money per acre, per annum, but because of doing what you are engaged in on a large scale, you get good money. The activities of intensive agriculture, such as poultry, piggery, fish farming, dairy farming of the zero grazing type, need animal feeds, fish meals, etc., that are from the maize and other products of the extensive agriculture type. So you cannot easily have intensive agriculture without extensive agriculture, because intensive agriculture needs inputs from the extensive agriculture. That's why Uganda is unbeatable in terms of chicken, of eggs. Nobody can compete with us in the world because we have both. We have cheap maize, so we can make cheap animal feed and therefore support chicken and pigs and fish farming. That's why that's why normally our brothers in Kenya get problems, because we are able to give them chicken, very good eggs, very good milk, but at a low cost, because we have got cheaper animal feeds. Moreover, the wise man's house is currently full of surpluses without too much use of irrigation or the use of fertilizers. The surpluses we have, 5 million tons of maize, 2.8 billion liters of milk. Maize, Uganda consumes only 1 million, but we produce 5 million tons. Milk, we consume only 800 million liters, but we produce 2.8 billion liters. Sugar, 700,000 tons. I opened a new factory the other day in Chiriandongo, but we consume only 380,000. And all that. All this is before the parish development model, which we are about to launch, is before the use of fertilizers, because we don't use many fertilizers, is before irrigation. Surpluses, huge surpluses, even before everybody is involved, which we are going to do under the parish model, before we use irrigation, before we use fertilizers seriously. In the coming financial years, we are going to intensify the modest efforts we have already started on in connection with irrigation. With irrigation, we have worked with the private sector to produce solar-powered water pumps that the rich farmers can buy and engage in mini irrigation farm by farm. I will buy a solar-powered water pump myself. I don't have to get it from the government, so that I can do my micro irrigation. Once the solar-powered irrigation pumps are on the market, the government will buy them for some of the cooperatives or farming villages where one pump can be shared by a number of small farmers. I worked on this project of the solar-powered water pumps because I know something about farming. When you have got water pumps which need petrol or diesel, they are disturbing. Solar-powered water pumps are better because when the sun, they pump water to the tank on a raised ground, and that water can go by irrigation, by gravity, and you irrigate. Even when there is no sun in the night, the water is already in the tank. We shall continue also developing the mega irrigation schemes of the Mobuku type. Currently, 150 solar-powered water pumps have been imported already. By the end of next year, 687 solar-powered water pumps will have been imported. Meanwhile, our private sector is building a factory for producing solar-powered water pumps and panels, solar panels. The factory will be ready by the end of the year, and it will produce 160,000 pumps per year. At the same time, we are continuing to repair and expand the old irrigation schemes and also build new ones. As of now, the following irrigation schemes are ready. Wadelai in Pakwach, Mobuku in Kasese, Ngenge in Kwen, Doho in Butareja, Ruengaju in Kawarore, Agoro in Kitugum, Owei in Lira, and Tochi in Oyam. Achomoy in Bukedeya and Atari in the district of Bulamburi and Lope in the district of Moroto are being worked on. We intend to use the waters of the Kajera River to support irrigation in Isingiro, the water of Lake Kyoga to support irrigation in the Nakasongola district, the water of the Nile to support irrigation in Pakwach, Nebi, Madiokoro, and Obongi districts. The areas of Busoga, Teso, Bukedi, and Lango have got a lot of wetlands that are now being misused for rice growing or underused, that will be used as reservoirs for irrigation projects. Irrigation, mega and micro, is in order to enhance and also stabilize agricultural production by immunizing agriculture from the negative effects of erratic rainfall. Like this season, the rain was not so reliable. This season was coming, stopping. We don't want that. Because actually for me, that's the only problem that would worry me. You know, I'm used to problems. When people are panicking me, I'm never bothered. Because I have handled bigger problems. Fighting a war without ammunition, is more serious than running around with a few of these what you call problems. But the one I don't want is the problem of lack of food. To me, that is the most serious problem. And that's why rain becomes very crucial. But because the rain sometimes is not reliable, we must stabilize our country with irrigation so that we don't have to go on kubahatisha. Chance, no. On the side of fertilizers, the Usukuru Hills project has stagnated. Our fertilizer factory in Tororo stagnated. Our Chinese friend, so many people took bribes from him, but I couldn't arrest them because I didn't have enough facts. But I know them. I know who took which bribe and how they really messed up that poor man, the Chinese man. Naye Katonda gyali. So the man lost so much money. He was a very good man, but he didn't know how dangerous these Ugandans are. We are, however, looking for a solution to that problem. I have written to the President of China to get me another investor if the other one has problems. Or if not, I would use another solution. There are a number of offers. Tororo will give us phosphorus from the phosphates, associated gas that is found in our petroleum in Lake Albert will give us the nitrogen, and Lake Katwe will give us the potassium. So the three elements, NPK, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, we have all of them here. It is a question of coordinating their extraction. With these efforts, because we already have surpluses, without irrigation, without the use of fertilizers, without the full involvement of all the families. So you can imagine what will happen when we solve the three. Full mobilization of the families so that they are all involved. We no longer have abakorera ekida kyonka. You know that group from Parisa, abakorera ekida kyonka, Butareja, Chibuku and all those areas. Teach me each keken, the ones who only work for the stomach. And then irrigation, and then fertilizers. With these efforts, you can visualize the magnitude of the agricultural production in Uganda. It will be massive. I can give one example. In the villages, production of bananas per hectare is 5.3 tons. However, Dr. Muranga at Nyaruzinga in Bushenyi, with government support, produces 53 metric tons per hectare. You can imagine. From 5.3 to 53. Why? Because she's using irrigation and she's using fertilizers. This is where our industrial linkage with our agriculture comes in. Our strategy is that anything agricultural that is not consumed fresh should be processed industrially so that it is preserved to be able to reach distant markets and also add value to the raw materials. We have done this for milk, for cotton. The shirt I'm putting on is a Ugandan shirt. I no longer agree to put on foreign shirts. It's part of the NRM. You must have heard a rumor that I'm a member of the National Resistance Movement. I resist my body being a market for foreign products. I am one of the original members of the National Resistance Movement. So this shirt I'm putting on is Ugandan shirt, cotton, but they are still importing polyester to mix with the cotton. But with our oil, we can also produce the polyester here. So we have done some work in terms of value addition for the milk. The milk, there was no commercial production of milk here until we insisted, and we see what's happening. We produce all types of milk, the liquid one, the UHT, the ultra heated one, which can last many months, the powdered, the butter, the ghee. And now I will see how terrible His Excellency Biden with his baby formulas. In Liantonde, there is a factory producing what they call casein. Casein is a protein for foods. That is on the side of the milk. For cotton, I've given you an example. For some fruits, e.g. soroti, for sugar cane, ebikado, sukari, there we have got many factories producing sugar for tea, ethanol. We are now producing industrial sugar, the one to put in the Coca-Colas and the pharmaceuticals. For some plantation products, for some bananas, like the wines, flour, sanitizers. These sanitizers which are fighting the corona, they are from bananas. When corona started, people were crying. We are the only ones who had 1 little factory of sanitizers. Now there are so many of them, sanitizers. The waragi which was killing our people, now has been turned into a sanitizer for killing germs. For some of the maize flour, animal feed, later ethanol, industrial alcohol, etc. This now brings me to the massive theft that has been going on with coffee. Right from 1986, I started the struggle to add value to our coffee, because our cadres who were deployed there told me the value differentials between our coffee sold as beans and what it would get when processed as soluble coffee or any other type of final coffee to be consumed. At that time, 1986, the kilogram of beans of coffee would give Uganda $1 per kilo, while the same coffee process would give the seller there in UK $14. Many times in meetings, I would point out that those who say they are donors are actually donees, because in every kilogram of coffee, Uganda was giving them $13, and also donating jobs. Whose children roast the green beans and ground them into powder in Europe? Are they our children? Whose electricity do they use? I have checked the latest figure. There is a type of coffee, Robusta coffee, that is known as Screen 18. Sold as green coffee, that is as bean, after you remove the skin. After removing the skin, apparently, our people are being paid $3.34 per kilogram. This is the good one. The other grades, they get much less. I think the lowest grade gets $1.7 per kilogram. When this same kilogram is roasted in London and ground, it shrinks to 700 grams and packed into packets of 300 grams each. Each packet is sold at $12, which means that 700 grams may fetch about $30. Therefore, For what Uganda gets US dollars 3.34, the smart people of UK get US dollars 30. Each coffee bean that is sold in supermarkets abroad takes away our phosphorus, our nitrogen, our potassium, and other nutrients for 10% of the value at which the final consumer buys the product. 90% of the value of that product from our soils, and 100% of the accompanying jobs that go with the roasting, grinding, and packaging of the product at that stage are all donated to the outsiders. The total value of coffee in the world, you hear these figures, my comrades. The total value of the coffee in the world is $460 billion. The global coffee trade brings in $460 billion. However, of this figure, the coffee growing countries, of this figure, 460 billion, the coffee growing countries of the whole world only get $25 billion. Can you imagine? 460 billion business for coffee. The coffee growing countries of the whole world, Brazil, all of them, all of us, 25 billion. I'm really embarrassed. Now this is for the whole, all of the coffee growing countries, Brazil, Colombia, Vietnam, and us. Out of the 460 billion, our share is $25 billion. The African coffee growing countries, their share is only $2.4 billion. From the total value of 460 billion business of coffee in the whole world, wonderful Africa, republics with presidents, with honorable ministers, honorable members of parliament, right honorable speakers, and right honorable I don't know what. Our share, $2.4 billion. The African growing countries, exporters of unprocessed raw materials, where it is economic to add value, are exploiters. When we dehusk, roast, grind, and pack here, Uganda will get more dollars, and we shall also pay higher prices to our farmers. The farmers are now cheated because the biggest beneficiaries from our coffee are the external roaster, grinders, and packers of coffee. The story about blending ETC is nonsense. That blending ETC can be done here. We have both Robusta and Arabica. In any case, I hear that our good Robusta is used to blend inferior coffees from other areas, but in Europe. It is this centuries-old hemorrhage that I saw my old friend, the Honorable Abed Bwanika, was so passionately supporting here some weeks ago. I said, but I still have my mouth. I'll go with my mouth. I don't leave it at home. When I go to Parliament, I will speak. And I have come. It is this hemorrhage that NRM opposed from the beginning in the point number 5 of the NRM 10 points program, already referred to. This hemorrhage is not only in coffee. This cotton, if you sell cotton a kilo, after you have removed the seeds, what they call ginned cotton, you get again $1. But when they make shirts, I think they make 4 shirts out of 1 kilo. The one who makes the shirts gets $14. From the same kilo, for what we got $1, the one who uses your kilo to make the shirt will get $14 or more, while you got only $1. It is this hemorrhage that the NRM opposed from the very beginning in the point number 5 of the NRM 10 points program already referred to. We opposed this hemorrhage in all the raw materials: milk, cotton, skins and hides, timber, iron ore. Iron ore, I banned the export of iron ore. We have got very good iron ore, what we call obtare in our language, in Kabare, in Kanungu. It is the best in the world. It is almost 70% pure. So the Indians had got in touch with some Bachiga in the district council, and they were exporting unprocessed iron ore to India. Imagine, to take soil from here, when it's not processed, it's like soil, only that it is black, to India, to process it there. How much were they paying our wonderful, paying us? $47 per ton. But when you process, because our iron ore is almost pure, 70%, at one time, for what we would get $47, somebody would get $900 at one time. This day the price came down. It's now about, it had gone to about 500. I think I hear it has gone back to about $700. And then the jobs. How can we accept this? I said, no. I will never allow, as long as I'm in charge of the country, there will never be export of iron ore unprocessed. If you want to process, come to Kaware, build the factory there. And also we need the iron, we need the steel here, we need it. You can imagine all these dams we are building, we are using imported. Yes, we have the factories which recycle scrap, but the scrap metal, scrap steel cannot be used in very strong structures like dams, like the railway, like high-rise buildings. Those ones we use imported steel from China, we have our own here, which we are going to develop. And we are getting investors because I resisted. People are giving up, they are now coming. You'll soon, I have asked the Bachiga to give me 200 acres. Rugunda got me some acres in Rwanda to build a huge factory of steel there for Central Africa, for Uganda and also the neighboring countries. So it is not the struggle for coffee only, all these raw materials. And you will hear, you will see how it is very, very dangerous. We oppose this hemorrhage in all raw materials: milk, cotton, skins and hides, timber. You can imagine, Uganda was importing furniture
from India, from Dubai. Dubai is selling Uganda furniture. A desert selling a forest land furniture. But because of the resistance, now there's a lot of furniture making here. I have supported some of the groups, like the group which used to be in Zambia, I supported them. The groups here, the ones of the prisons, they make very good furniture. We are refusing to buy. The Minister of Education, Mama here had to fight with thieves in the ministry who were importing furniture from China, from India. Imagine. If you don't produce a car, you don't produce an aircraft, you don't produce a computer, but you also don't produce furniture, what will you produce? What are you for? So timber, iron ore, obutare, copper, echikomo, gold, tin, lithium, wolfram, petroleum, etc. All these will be processed here. Nagenda musiko kurwana kanwane. I'm ready to fight. It is this hemorrhage that is responsible for the stagnation of Africa. You hear the statistics, my comrades. The total GDP of the whole of Africa, forget about Uganda, all the whole of Africa. What is the total GDP? $2.7 trillion. Africa ya fayo na trillion bili 0.7. Smaller than or equal to individual economies of other countries. Japan, 5 trillion. Japan, one country. $5 trillion, the whole of Africa, 2.7 trillion. And this is the recent, even this 2.7 trillion is to Tambodeko. We have moved because it used to be half a trillion. The whole of Africa was half a trillion economy. But Japan, 5 trillion. India, 2.6 trillion, almost the same as the whole of Africa. UK, 2.6 trillion. France, 2.6 trillion. Germany, 3.85 trillion. Tomorrow, South Korea, imagine. 1.6 trillion, almost like Africa. That South Korea is half the size of Uganda in land area. It is when you combine North Korea and South Korea that it's about the size of Uganda. USA, 20 trillion, 20.89 trillion. China, 14.7 trillion. Yet Africa is 12 times the size of India, with a population of 1.4 billion. It is 4 times the size of the USA. The continued export of raw materials by Africa is the new form of slavery. Export of value in exchange for no value. Because that's what was happening with the slaves, with our ignorant chiefs. They would sell their people They give him a mirror to look at himself. The idiot looks at himself in a mirror, and that's wonderful. Then he puts on monkey skins and ostrich feathers, that he's beautiful, he's handsome. Giving them combs, they would give a human being, and they give him a comb to comb his hair. Or for little value like now, 10% value of the final product. The export of raw materials and slaves for the last 600 years is the cause of this stunting of the African economy. Stunting, they call it Tokuningama in Nyankore. Ever since 1986, I've been trying to get value adders to all our raw materials. Sometimes I succeed, like with milk. I got a company called Samir, who came and helped me. Brookside, the one of Kenya. Pearl, the one of Mbarara. Akaget, there's another factory in that area. Cotton, like Nigeria and fine spinners. Wood, like plywood in Katugo. Palm oil, like Bidco. There is a man who has come to Maruzi, a group who are growing palm oil in Maruzi. Did you get that picture, you people? If my people got it, show it to them. I was very happy to see that is now Maruzi. You see how Maruzi is now looking? That is palm oil. My people have now done something. They never do much. The Mnyangore says, no, you put it back. All these people know Museveni, they have seen Museveni for a long time. Let them see palm oil. That palm oil is the group who are doing sugar in the Chiriandongo, in the Chinyara. They are the ones who asked me, and I gave them Maruzi. Put it. Why are you rushing? Ugendawa. Take a call. I saw that picture. I have not been there. Put it back, you man. Now, they are using irrigation of the Nile to grow that palm oil. So this crying, the way you are crying for sabuni from Malaysia, very soon we shall be the ones selling to the whole world. Thank you so much. Oh, thank you, Omona. Omona has done something now also. I'm going to say, okay, thank you very much. Thank you. Well, you know, when you thank them, then they make things worse. I'm going to say, Kiteita Yitomushure. There is a very slow flying bird, very lazy. The one which eats ripe bananas. So the one who does not know how to aim properly. If he kills Omshure, then he's very proud because he has killed a lazy bird. So the palm oil wood in Katugo, palm oil in like Bidco, sugar, many companies, petroleum, a refinery. The battle I had for the refinery. The oil companies did not want a refinery in Uganda. They said, no, the pipeline. I said, but why are you taking all the oil? I had a rumor that there were human beings here who need petrol also. Why are you taking all the oil? Because economics. Economics. Those who build refineries, why do they build them if it is not economic? Then when I insisted, it turned out that the refinery of Uganda will be one of the most profitable, with an internal rate of return of more than 20%. So that's another war we had to fight. They didn't want an oil refinery here. Bananas, like Dr. Mranga, Chamahangire, skins and hides, Nachove. Can you imagine that you people, you have not been having a factory for making leather for shoes until I had to build this with Nachove. You are one of your people. We have built it in Kaumu, near my farm. Using the money you gave me. You remember you gave me money. Me, I don't eat your money. I just use it. You gave me 100-something billion for innovation fund. And I have built for you a leather tanning factory in Kaumu. So that our children, you remember I was training here young people to make shoes, do what, but then the problem was leather. Leather had to be bought from Nairobi, from China. Imagine, China, the one selling us leather. What happened to Africans? You are buying, Banyakura have been keeping cows for the last 7,000 years. And you are now buying leather from Chinese? Why don't you make it yourself here? So we built the factory there. It is soon to be commissioned. Gold, we have now got 6 gold refineries. With coffee, I tried so many groups. Nescafe, Nestle, Tata. There is a Ugandan called Banya. I helped him to do ban coffee, ban cafe. Star Coffee. I tried to work with the Tanzanians in Bukoba to no avail. All these I've been trying them. When I met Madam Pinetti, the one you have been attacking, she had no idea about coffee. It is not her. She had no idea about coffee. I, however, could see that she had a wide network of contacts. I asked her to look into coffee. After some time, she came back with a positive report that it was doable. I am the one who told her. She didn't, for her, she was in hospitals. Therefore, those attacking that project are supporters of to bleed of Africa, perpetual bleeding. If they were not, they would have responded to our call of 1986 and after to come forward and add value to coffee and seek government assistance. So I am ready to sit down with all these coffee people If you want to add value, I will support you. But if you want to be a slave, I will not support you. Nze siwagaranga ko abaagala obudde for Africa. Instead of attacking the savior or your anatasa, if you are genuine, join the liberation effort. We are here. I will meet all those in the coffee. After my country, I'm going up country in a few days. When I come back, I will call all of you, say, because you have seen the Kibaro now. $460 billion. The coffee producing countries in the whole world only share $25 billion. How can this be? How? How can we accept this? And I call myself president, I call with a flag, with the... I am not a clown. It is criminal for anybody to continue arguing for the continued export of raw materials in Africa when there is 90% more value in that product that you are giving to the outsiders. Apart from the huge expansion of the agricultural sector and the concomitant expansion of the agro-industrial sector, there are industries that we are promoting based on our minerals, oil and gas, refinery, petrochemicals, fertilizers, iron ore, steel, copper, electric industries, cables, transformers, electrical appliances, lithium, electrical car batteries, niobium, ingots, bars, billets, rods, tin plates, buckets, cooking utensils, coltan, laptops, medical equipment, smartphones, wolfram, electric filaments, ammunition, etc. All these we shall have to, we are going to add value to them. I can tell the parliament, in the cabinet recently, they brought this Ministry of Minerals, brought information that we have got a lot of gold. 320 million tons of gold, confirmed, worth 12 point something trillion dollars. I said, okay. So what's next? They said, but however, this will be taken by foreigners, all of it. For us, we are very happy. We shall get $680 billion. Imagine, the total gold is 12 trillion point something, almost 13 trillion. Nayebo, these were my wonderful people, ministry people, they were content with 680 billion, which is like 0.7 of a trillion out of 13 trillion. They were ready to they thought it was a good business. I said, no. Out of the 12 trillion, maybe we shall keep 10. And the people who our partners can take 2. So this madness in Africa must stop. How can? And this, so I challenge, these are educated people. But how could you accept this? For us, we're just looking at royalty, what they call royalty. Royalty. But the resource is yours. How can you accept royalty and you give away your wealth? This is your wealth. If the other, so I asked them, because in petroleum, because the Arabs resisted. Then a concept called production sharing agreement was introduced. PPA, PSA, whereby we say, okay, you are an investor, you are putting your money looking for the petroleum. If you find it, you recover the money you put in, and you get some profit, but the resource belongs to the country. So why don't you use the same principle for minerals? No. This gold will not be taken. Mugende mutwale byabalala, when I'm in charge here, God brought me here and the Ugandans keep supporting me. And I cannot agree to the selling of the resources of Uganda. So all these, like lithium, we are making electric cars. We have lithium. You sell the lithium, other people go and make electric batteries, they sell them to you. Why don't you make the batteries yourself? What is the problem? You have the raw materials, others don't have the raw material. Why don't you use your raw material to make the lithium batteries yourself? You can share with others, sell to others, but also use yourself. The work in the services sector is familiar to honorable members in the form of tourism, transport, like airline, the railway, entertainment, etc. With the masses, apart from the PDM, the Parish Development Model, there is a program of Emyoga, the 18 of them, as listed here: Boda Boda Circle, Women Entrepreneurs Circle, Carpenters Circle, Saloon Operators Circle, Tax Operators Circle, Restaurateurs Circle, Welders Circle, Market Vendors Circle, Youth Leaders Circle, PWDs Circle, Produce Leaders Circle, Mechanics Circle, Tailors Circle, Local Elected Leaders Circle, the Veterans Circle, Journalists Circle, Performing Arts Circle, Fishermen Circle. The contact point for this effort is at the constituency. As you can see, the spectrum covers most of the modest artisanal skills that produce products for ordinary use. The four sectors: commercial agriculture, big or small, intensive or extensive; industries, big or small, including SMEs and artisanship; services, such as transport, tourism, hotels, entertainment, professional services, etc., doctors, and ICT, if aggressively pushed, will cause massive socio-economic transformation. I estimate that commercial agriculture alone can create 50 million jobs if you assume 5 million households engaged in small-scale agriculture of the Ruengaju type, and each household employing 10 people. This will be a transitional situation because the developed country economies have smaller numbers of employees in agriculture and more numbers in services and industry, while underdeveloped economies have many numbers unemployed or in disguised unemployment presented as agriculture, and only a few numbers employed in the four sectors of commercial agriculture, industries, services, and ICT. Akatale kabbe ffe Abaganda bwe tugamba. These people who don't know our language, in Uganda we say, akatari kabbe, amagumba olya osura mu mulyango. We say that something you have not stolen, there is no need to hide it. I have no need to hide my coffee here, because it is mine. Kawa yange munange. Apart from universal commercial agriculture, industries based on agro-processing, forest products, services, and ICT, there are industries that are based on the intellect of the human brain. The industries of electric and conventional automobiles, such as buses, minibuses, trucks, and motorbikes, the pathogenic economy, vaccines, pharmaceuticals for human and livestock, space science, energy, including nuclear energy, etc., have each at least a nucleus already laid down here in Uganda as I speak today. All these lines, we have already trained our young people. They are there, and we are supporting them in modest ways. Space science, we have got a unit. Nuclear energy, we've got a unit, and we are moving towards establishing a nuclear plant for electricity and so on, and also for agriculture. We need all this capacity. So therefore, we talk of the 4 sectors: commercial agriculture for everybody who has got land, industry, services, ICT, and within industry we have got the old industries of agro-processing and minerals, but we have also got new ones, the ones of the intellect, of the brain. The book of Galatians, chapter 6, verse 7 in the Bible, tells us that whatever man sows, that is what he reaps. Buri muntu wene kyava nikyajesha. How has the NRM brought Uganda to the lower step, ecstasy, Runyankole call it ecstasy, of the middle income status, from such a low base, and in spite of so many challenges? The following are the reasons. Number one, the correct ideology of the NRM, rejecting the sectarian ideas of the past actors, insisting on patriotism, Pan-Africanism, socio-economic transformation, and democracy. This removed Oburyane. Oburyane is a Nyankole word for disharmony and tension in the villages, from the community and the country. You saw what was happening with the Namugongo people, these people just walking from all over the place. And you have all these negative fellows, like the ones who basically walking to work. If you are walking peacefully, who would mind about you? You could say millions. If the people who were in Namugongo, were they not millions? Walking from all over the place. But they are walking peacefully and with good intention. Who would bother with them? But if you are walking to cause trouble, we cause trouble for you. Karasha ngabo imrasha. That is why Uganda has no refugees living outside Uganda. Even when we had COIN and ADF terrorism, we had internally displaced persons within Uganda, within the country. They never ran outside Uganda. Since the time of the NRM, we have never had refugees from Uganda to other countries, because they have nothing to run away from. Even when there was COIN and so on, everybody knew that it was not the government, it was others who are disturbing them. They would have what we call IDP, internally displaced. But they would never go outside the country. So that ideology of the NRM of unity is number one. Number two, a strong army that has ensured peace within Uganda, all the challenges notwithstanding. Number three, a strong private sector encouraged by the correct pro-private sector policies of the NRM. Most of the surpluses referred to above have been generated by the private sector, farmers, manufacturers, etc. Number four, the correct Pan-African ideology of the NRM that saw the revival of the East African community, the creation of COMESA, and the Abuja Treaty of 1991 that eventually saw the birth of the CFTA, the Continental Free Trade Area. Today, Uganda exports goods and services worth 1.2 billion to East African community, 1.6 billion to COMESA, and 2 billion to the rest of Africa. Algeria has a market of yesterday 1.2 billion for dairy products that only awaits us to solve the problem of FMD, Erjwa, and CBPP, Chihaha. Ethiopia has a dairy products market of $30 million that only awaits a reliable road from Kabong Kotido to the southern Ethiopia. Number five, the correct NRM policy of emphasizing science in education and prioritizing the better payment of government scientists if we do not yet have enough money to pay everybody. Africa was colonized and enslaved, and people were exterminated, dominated, or marginalized, not because they lacked storytellers, comedians, musicians, witch doctors and priests, kings and queens, soldiers, farmers, etc., but because they lagged behind in science and technology. That's why we were colonized. We were colonized not because we lacked all these fellows, musicians, storytellers, all those were there. Clowns to make kings laugh. They were all there, but we were colonized because we lagged behind in science and technology. Inability to see this is a threat to our survival as free people, if not survive at all. Our lagging behind in the science and technology of gunpowder and guns, for instance, was one of the greatest handicaps. The private sector needs scientists in addition to managerial cadreship. The state, economic and social infrastructures need scientists, such as researchers, engineers for electricity, engineers for water, engineers for electronics, doctors, vets, etc. So, unity by ideology, the soldiers guarding the peace, the private sector building the economy, the scientists to support this, both the private sector, but also the government infrastructure. Number six, The correct strategy of the NRM, developing the infrastructure, the roads, the railway, the electricity, the piped water, the telephones, the internet, etc. The crucial roles of infrastructure are to enable, e.g. electricity, and connect, e.g. roads, the producers of goods and services and their consumers, and do so cheaply, so that the product is not overpriced and therefore being competitive in the market. We could have achieved much more if it was not for either the confused people or the enemies of Africa, many of them obstructing us, many times obstructing us. I, for instance, remember the sabotage of Uganda Temple of Development by the 6th Parliament of 1999 on the 8th of November, when they blocked the agreement I had negotiated with the AES, American Energy Service, to produce power at 4.9 American cents at Bujagari. And Mr. Chat Chai of Mali Samparan Public Company of Thailand, who was chased by Parliament, whom I had mobilized with the late Mzee Mrwana to help us with the milk processing. Dr. Mranga's banana project has been maliciously obstructed many times. Recently, we witnessed the mishandling of the Coffee Valley addition effort here in the Parliament. Uganda has made these gigantic steps, such obstructions notwithstanding. When it comes to the recent high commodity prices, caused initially by the relaunch of the world economy after the 2 years of lockdown, and additionally by the war in Ukraine, our decision, after careful analysis, is to avoid the traps of tax cuts and subsidies. Instead, we are doing two things. One is to engage the global actors that have caused these artificial shortages. I have contacted some of the actors. I'm in touch with all these wonderful people. I'm glad H.E. Biden is going to Saudi Arabia to meet the Crown Prince to get OPEC to pump more petroleum out of the ground. That would definitely help. Also, the chairperson of the African Union, His Excellency Macky Sall, met His Excellency Putin in Sochi, Russia, to ask him to assist in getting the wheat of Ukraine out of the ports of Odessa. And he has also talked to the Europeans to stop sanctioning wheat from Russia and fertilizers because Africa needs them. This is one of the correct ways. We shall use diplomacy to solve this problem created by these wonderful people who fight instead of talking. The other one is to get our own substitutes, like you saw here in the palm oil. Very soon Uganda will be the biggest producer of palm oil in the world. And we would have done it long ago if it was not so, again, for the obstruction in Sango Bay and in Karanga, in Buvuma. There was the young member of parliament there, Egunyu. Oh, wasting a lot of time. The other one is to get our own substitutes, cassava and banana flour for bread, and our own sunflower, soya beans oil, as we wait for our more quantities of palm oil from Sango Bay, Mayuge, Buvuma, Maruzi, Bundubujo, etc. Cutting taxes or subsidies, especially on imports, is suicidal because our people may buy carelessly and we end up draining our foreign exchange reserves. Moreover, cutting taxes or subsidizing means taking money away from the planned projects and putting it in consumption. Consumption of fuel, bread, etc. That means we stop, for instance, the following roads: Chigumba, Bulima, Kaboya, Chenjojo, 235 kilometers. Those are ongoing. Rukunjiri, Shihi, Shashakanungu, Masindi, Para, Hoima, Butiaba, Wanseko. Those are already ongoing, but there are new ones. Buhimba, Narweyo, Bulamaji, Iganga, Kakumiro, Masindi, Biso, Hohanya, Irongo, Charushesha, Butore, Kabare, Kiziramfumbi, Kapchoro, Swam, Atiakla, Ropi, Busega, Mpige Expressway, Muyembe na Kapiripirit, Naja na Nkumbi, Busabala, Kira, Matuga, Ruenkunyu, Apach, Lira, Puranga, Moroto, Loktanyara, rehabilitation of Mtiana Mbende Road, Arui, Nebi, and so many of those who stop these roads so that money is put in subsidizing fuel and subsidizing bread. These roads, these projects help these areas. If you go, for instance, now, the other day I was in Katakwi, in Olirim, I was passing out soldiers. The area has changed completely because of that tarmac road. Or stopping the secondary schools, such as Nobo Mayombo Seed Secondary School in Kavarore, Awara Seed Secondary School in Arua, Nairambe Seed Secondary School in Buvuma, or universities like Soroti, Moon University, or cutting some money from PDM or Emyoga, meaning money taken away from production to consumption on account of a temporary problem. Let us maintain our momentum of development. The high commodity prices will be solved in other ways, some of them outlined above. In foreign affairs, Uganda abstained in the votes in the UN on the issue of Ukraine. You must have heard the arguments of the two sides. We have communicated our views confidentially to the two sides, the Western Bloc and Russia. At some stage, we shall give our views publicly. Our views are very correct, but we are giving them quietly. On the issue of security within the Great Lakes region, the regional conferences like the one we had in Nairobi some weeks ago on the issue of security within the region, in the regional conferences like the one we had in Nairobi some weeks ago, we share our history with the African brothers and sisters. Some of the problems never get solved on account of mixing up three issues: armed conflicts for just causes, armed conflicts for reactionary aims, and the use of terrorist methods, whatever the nature of the conflict, just or unjust. The tendency, which is not correct, is to bunch all conflicting parties as negative forces. Uganda is a good laboratory for all manner of conflicts. We have the just wars like the ones waged between 1971 and 1986 by the different fighting groups against the regimes of Amin, Obote II, and Okero. Why just? Why did we call them just wars? It is because the fight was about the freedom of vote by secret ballot for all adults above the age of 18 at regular intervals. The struggle against extrajudicial killings, the struggle against sectarianism that was enforced by arms, etc. The last elections had been in April 1962, and we never had any other elections until the 10th of December 1980, after 18 years. Even those elections were contested from the beginning of the process to the end. We tried to talk to the groups that thought they had the upper hand, to no avail. And once still, they would kill anybody with a different opinion. Ben Kiwanuka, Basilio Bataringaya, Alexander Latim, Oriema, Kasura, Sebugwao, Rutamaguzi, Nkanjirwa, etc. People were being killed. We therefore had no alternative but to fight. That is why, between 1966 and 1986, Uganda was among the top 4 refugees generating countries in the world at that time. At one time, Uganda had 500,000 refugees, almost the whole population of West Nile, in exile in Congo and South Sudan. While I do not want to talk about other African countries, I am sure that I can safely cite at least 2 examples. The struggle by the SPLM of the Sudan against the Arab Islamic chauvinist regime of Khartoum, which was insisting that the very dark Dinkas, Shiruks, Nuer, etc. of South Sudan were Arabs and had to live under Sharia law. If you have got a sample of a South Sudanese and he stands up and you see him, and you call him an Arab, you must be out of your mind. How do you resolve that madness? These were mad. You know, we would spend years talking to Bashir, but these people are not Arabs. Why do you call Sudan an Arab country? And why do you want to make Sudan Islamic? These are not Muslims. They are not even, many of them are not even Christian. They are our traditional religion. Why do you bother them? But madness is quite democratic in the world. How do you resolve that madness? How about the whites in South Africa, who said that the indigenous Africans could not have voting rights in the country of their ancestry? You imagine we had to spend years with the whites in South Africa. The answer was a just war in each of the above situations. You then have unjust wars of either aggression or of a reactionary nature, non-progressive. Take the colonial wars of conquest. Why were the colonials conquering other countries? What right did they have to do so? Then you come to ADF, Kony, Lakwena, etc. ADF said that they wanted to make Uganda Islamic by force. Kony wanted to rule us by some commandments that were to be given him by the Holy Spirit. Lakwena wanted government megwa. In Acholi, that means our government, by which she meant the Acholi tribal government over the whole of Uganda. These were aims, all right, but they were wrong aims, oppressive aims, negative and progressive aims. They were therefore reactionary, kupinga maendeleo aims, and hence the wars fought in their implementation were unjust wars, just like the wars of the colonial conquest. Having talked about just and unjust wars, we also clarify the issue of terrorism. It is wrong to say that every armed group is a terrorist group, whether they are fighting a just or unjust war. Take Lakwana, for instance. Although she was fighting an unjust war over Chori sectarianism, she was definitely not a terrorist because she was not using terrorist methods. Terrorist methods mean using violence indiscriminately, such as attacking non-combatants, killing prisoners of war, or torturing them. Lakwana was confused, using the witchcraft of the smearing her fighters with the oil of moya tree, shea butter tree, and telling them that they were immune to bullets, but she was not a terrorist because she was not targeting non-combatants, she was not killing prisoners of war. That is how Major Bielsi survived, one of our army officers. When Bielsi was captured, Lakwana said, no, you bring him here. I will make him a member of the Holy Spirit movement, of the Lakwana movement. Then Bielsi was put there and he was smeared with the moya oil that he had not. Then the man took the first chance to escape again. So definitely Lakwana was not a terrorist. She was confused, but not a terrorist. Cohen and ADF were, on the other hand, fighting both an unjust war but also a terrorist one. Why? It is because they were targeting non-combatants, killing prisoners of war, etc., the Atiak massacre, the Baronyo massacre, the Stramba burning of 8 students in the dormitory, the Chiburara Seminary massacre, the abductions of young people to force them to fight for them, the abduction of sex slaves. It is those acts that make a fighter a terrorist. Even if you are fighting for a just cause, if you target non-combatants, use forced recruitment other than conscription by the state, kill prisoners of war, take sex slaves, you become a terrorist. Therefore, in the whole of the Great Lakes area, the concerned groups should be audited as to whether they are fighting for a just cause or not, and as to whether they are using terrorist methods or not. What is then the correct method of resolving such armed conflicts? What is our experience? Our experience and even other good experiences show that combining both political and military methods is the correct way, especially for the non-terrorist armed groups, even when they are fighting for an unjust cause, e.g. sectarianism. Priority should be given to dialogue leading to a political solution. Even for the terrorist groups, if they accept dialogue, it should be tried. It is through dialogue, combined with military efforts, that we reach solutions with Angelo Okero, Bamuze, Musa Echweru. Musa Echweru is here. Where is Musa Echweru? That man was a rebel. Benzi, UFM, FEDEM, etc. Using force is like using surgery in medicine. Surgery is used as a method of last resort when less violent methods to the body can no longer work. Even then, it should be used in a very restricted way, affecting only the sick part, not the rest of the body. East Africa, and our chairman, H.E. Kenyatta, can resolve all these security challenges using appropriate actions, political methods, where feasible, and force where necessary. Uganda is ready and able to contribute to all these efforts. Congo and Uganda, since November 30th, 2021, crushed the ADF in Eastern Congo. ADF cannot operate in large groups anymore in the 3 sectors of Sector 2, Ituri, Sector 1 and 2, North Kivu. I think one is Sector 3, Sector 2, Ituri, Sector 1 and 3 in North Kivu. The ADF survivors have either gone into hiding or have fled beyond what we call the limit of exploitation, the boundary where the Congo Army allowed us to reach. However, in smaller groups, I'm told the ADF is still sneaking back in some of the sectors and killing some unguarded villagers. There is a solution to such a problem that we used to deal with those smaller groups attacking the soft targets of unguarded wananchi. We are discussing all this with the government of Congo. Within Uganda, we have strengthened the security on the whole, including Karamoja and the surrounding districts. We have trained tens of thousands of LDUs that I passed out at Kaweweta, Laboldong, Olodim, etc. recently, and many of them have been absorbed into the divisions to boost manpower. As I've said repeatedly, the cattle rustlers will soon lose appetite for the gun. However, the cattle rustlers and other terrorists should be condemned, and they should also condemn themselves because of Okwetera and Obo. Bekube and Obo. We football players, sometimes you can hurt yourself, you can kick your own shin, and it's very painful. And it is called Okwetera and Obo. I think in Uganda they will call it Okwekube and Obo. Hurting one's shin as you play football. In 1991, we reduced the manpower of the army from 100,000 to 40,000 to save money by having less infantry so that we can buy better equipment on account of the situation in the region at that time that had the potential for possible interstate conflicts. You could not fight such conflicts with just infantry, soldiers just walking on foot. Even counterinsurgency needed some capacity of combined arms. That is how we were able to build the strategic elements of our defense forces, such as Air Force, artillery, tanks, reconnaissance, etc. That is how we were able to achieve victories and cope with the dangerous security situations in the region. Having smaller numbers of personnel and more equipment was a smart way of building a modern army able to defend the borders of the country against external serious threats. The modern equipment alone, however, will not handle indisciplined elements walking on foot, stealing cattle, killing people, raping women, etc. On account of activities of those confused people, we are now forced to build up the manpower of the armed forces again, far above the figure of 1991. That means a bigger wage bill, feeding, health, education for the children of the soldiers, accommodation, etc. This is the money we should be spending in Karamoja and other areas, on the roads, the schools, the health centers, the partial development model, the Emyoga. Indeed, the Karamojong have seen the tarmac road from Soroti to Moroto, from Moroto to Nakapiripirit, the electricity from Opuyo to Moroto, from Moroto to Kotido, Kabonga, Bim. They have seen the schools. They have seen the health centers. It is government money that has been doing all that. Nevertheless, we are now diverted by our indisciplined cattle rustlers to spend money on more soldiers, infantry. To fight what war and against whom? To fight a war of ignorance and fight against our expanded prosperity. All understanding people should denounce this sabotage. You, the leaders, really should talk to our people that they are undermining themselves. Because the money we are spending on soldiers, what? This is money which they should be using to solve their problems. With what I have said above, Uganda is on the right path and has been for the last 36 years. We only need to be mindful of 3 points: the environment, corruption, and chauvinism in business. You have seen what can happen to countries when they cannot produce their own food. There is no problem Uganda cannot solve, as I have said above, as long as we are able to produce most or all of our food. To do this, you need soil and, above all, fresh water. This means environmental protection, protecting the wetlands, all of them, the riverbanks, the lake shores, and the forests, and also planting trees, even in inhabited areas. I have warned all sub-county and Miruka chiefs, as well as cows, not to forget the environment officers, the GISOs and the DISOs, manning areas where I will discover encroachment on wetlands, will be sacked, and if legally possible, also criminally prosecuted. This is for all areas of Uganda, except some areas of Busoga, Bukedi, and Kigezi, where historically there was misguided government encouragement of people going into wetlands to grow swamp rice and start dairy farms. Those areas of historical mistakes will also be recovered by working with the stakeholders to shift to fish farming in the periphery of those wetlands, which activity is much more profitable, so as to allow the wetlands to regenerate. All the others must unconditionally leave the wetlands because nobody took them there, and many of these are recent, which means they are doing it in deliberate defiance of plans to save their country. The swamp of Busemba, between Kiroro and Karasa, was the river crossing where our machine gunner, Mondo Tumhairwe, used to do a lot of damage to the UNLA. There was not a single encroacher at that time. It is now invaded, and so is Mayanja Wenkarwe, Wabukokoma, etc. When I go those areas, I really want to get out of the car and start fighting. These are areas I know very well. They must get out. Those swamps had nobody who was in those swamps. When I flew to Kiwoko recently, I saw the swamps that feed into Mayanja, Machebebe, Chizikibi, etc., Binji and Crockstone. This is my last warning to the local authorities all over Uganda. Damage to our local water bodies affects 40% of our rainfall. How can we tolerate that? This is a danger to our very own existence. The global mistake makers are endangering the globe and humanity with the greenhouse gases. Humanity will struggle against them. Why should we reinforce their mistakes with ours? Another danger to our rapid socio-economic transformation is the corruption of political actors and public servants who do not only steal government money, thereby denying the population the services that money would have provided, but they also parasite on our business people. Business people and investors do not feel beholden to these parasites, expose both their requests for bribes and their schemes for frustrating those that do not pay bribes. Action will be taken for the benefit of the business atmosphere in the country. Finally, on strategic issues, I must point out the mistake of those who proclaim what they call indigenous business people as being more useful to the country than the foreigners. Some people even talk of factory Yomuyindi, an Indian factory. There are no Indian or Chinese factories in Uganda. Indian factories and Chinese factories are in India and China respectively. Economics helped us to understand this problem long ago by providing for us a measurement of the size of the economy with two measurements: GDP, gross domestic product, and GNP, gross national product. GDP refers to the value of all production of goods and services on our territory, whether by our citizens or not. GNP is the measurement of the value of the production of goods and services by our citizens, whether on our territory or elsewhere. Economies that do not discriminate among wealth creators prosper. The German Jew by the names of Robert Oppenheimer, who was discriminated by the Nazi in Germany, is the one that helped the USA to develop a nuclear bomb. The people that should be discriminated are the unrepentant comprador bourgeoisie, the commission agents, the importers of foreign consumer goods that could be made here, the exporters of unprocessed raw materials at 10% of their eventual value as the final products. These are the ones that we should talk about. A foreign manufacturer of goods based in Uganda is more useful to the country than an importer of foreign consumer goods that can be made here, who is a citizen of Uganda. However, patriotic importers do not import perennially, endlessly. I was told that Dangote used to import cement, but graduated and became a cement manufacturer, not only in Nigeria, but in many parts of Africa. I was also told that in 1931, Samsung was importing textiles in South Korea. He graduated from that and became the big producer of electronic gadgets, such as computers. Let us stop mixing water with mud. by calling bad good and good bad. Such countries stagnate. China developed because of the clear vision of Mao Zedong and Deng Xiaoping. Mao Zedong helped China of what he called the four classes: the national bourgeoisie, the peasants, the proletariat, and the patriotic petty bourgeoisie, against the parasitic comprador agent bourgeoisie that were working as foreign agents for other people's interests. There was a group called Kasita here. That Kasita, their business was importing Oaxaca. And at one time they even organized a strike because we had put taxes on their carpets and women's hair and what they were importing from outside. They went on a strike and we said, okay, we're going to fight you. So those who they are the problem. Therefore, let all the NRM MPs and other positive elements rally around the patriotic program of the NRM that has transformed Uganda from the failed state of 1986, with the economy expanding in size 30 times plus in the 30 years, in spite of the endless betrayals by certain elements. Those who cause frictions among the NRM fraternity should be carefully examined. Why can't you discuss any matter in a non-antagonistic way? Why? Because I normally hear people fighting this one. Why do you fight somebody who is on your side? Why don't you go and talk to him or her? What is this? Even if somebody is making a mistake, go and talk to him or her. Then you go together. You see the speaker, you see the prime minister, you see the vice president, and solve it. But tension. This one is accusing that. Why? That's not a good sign. Anybody who is causing unnecessary friction among us is not a good person. Because the problem is that, of course, you are not fighter. You have never fought. You are just there in air conditioning and eating mandas and things like that. But for me, I appreciate, because at one time, when we were attacking Idi Amin in 1972, I had one UPC neighbor, a young boy who had been recruited by UPC, who didn't know how to fight. We were fighting Amin soldiers at Makenke, opposite Mbara Barracks, on the left, as you face the massacre. And we were on an anthill. I was on an anthill firing at these Amin huge fellows with big stomachs. I think I punctured a few of them. And then this UPC boy was afraid. He didn't even see where he was firing. He put a gun near my ear, fired. The eardrum almost burst. So when you have got a bad neighbor, that's when you know. But for you people, God has given you all these friends. You can relate with them for a lifetime, but instead you are fighting. You are accusing one another. You are what? Instead of using good methods of interacting so that you get a common solution, the thing is to undermine one another. That's not good. That's not a good sign. If you see such people, you should know that they are not good people. For me, I need people. Because I need them. For you, Mnyankwere will say, I think you don't even know our local languages. Because Mnyankwere will say, no kwata bantu ijaga nko bashagize. You are mishandling people as if you have got excess people on your side. The Mnyankwere say, even if you have got a number of things, any addition to you is welcome. That's why one time I quarreled with my people. You know, there was a bad girl called Beatrice Anywar. Do you know that woman? That girl was really a confused type. But I used to talk well with her. Whenever I met her, you would talk. Because my job is to win over people. Even those who are against me. So one time we were in a place called Omia Nyima. And I don't know what God had visited Anywar. She came to my rally. Because she was like an enemy, she was attacking me all the time. But me, I would talk to her very nicely. But when she came to my rally, my people refused to give her a chair. I was really annoyed with my people. Why do you refuse to give Anywar a chair? She's on the other side, she has come. She's adding to our strength. Why do you to treat her as if she's a bad person? I was not happy with my group there in Omia Nyima. It is blessed, even biblically, for you to bring people together instead of causing conflict. The bulk of the 11th Parliament have been acting positively. Mwebale nnyo apoyo mateka eyalama alakala noe awade 4. I congratulate everybody. The other people, I wanted to fight the girls who were shouting at me the other day. But when I went there and ran away, I was ready for them. But later on, I used my spy network to know who they were. I will follow them up and we sort it out. I congratulate everybody, especially the Speaker, and the Deputy Speaker. I also congratulate the Vice President and the Prime Minister, the latter being leader of government business in Parliament. On account of this positiveness, Parliament has passed the following legislations in the last 12 months. The Administration of Parliament Bill 2021, the National Social Security Fund, you know the laws we have passed. They are all here. I think I have a list here of 23 Thank you so much. Some of these are very strategic for the further growth of the economy. These include the law on the East African oil pipeline, known as the East African Crude Oil Pipeline, ECOP, Special Provisions Bill 2021, and the one that allows industrial parks to get power direct from the generation by bypassing umeme. I thank and I congratulate everybody that was involved. In the coming year, the government will bring the following bills. They are all here. They are listed here. You will get a copy of the speech. There are so many. Let me see how many are they? 62. So I don't have to read them, but they are in the speech which they will give you. Uganda and Africa are unstoppable. Long live Uganda, long live East Africa, long live Africa. I thank everybody. After overcoming the consequences of COVID-19 and the high commodity prices, we shall go back to our other manifesto issues, e.g. free education. On Corona, however, the public needs to be careful again. Why were people not putting on masks at Namugongo? I was watching those Namugongo people, they were not putting on masks. I think they may think wrongly that when you are in a church, you don't get infected. So I'm a bit worried about what I saw happening there. We are now again getting 2 deaths per week from Corona. Be alert again, please. I thank you and I wish everybody good luck. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Excellency, for the good message, and thank you for honoring our invitation and fulfilling your constitutional obligation under Article 101 of the Constitution of Uganda. On a special note, we want to thank the First Lady, Mama Janet, for creating time to be with us amidst your busy schedule. We are forever grateful, Mama. Thank you for coming. The address has set out the government agenda for the next 1 year. Take note, honorable members of parliament, what we are expected to deliver. Thank you so much for highlighting the priorities of government, which will guide us in executing our mandate of parliament. That includes legislation, appropriation, oversight role. I also want to thank our colleagues, the speakers, the presiding officers from the neighboring countries in particular, and all the dignitaries, the guests, for honoring our invitation in the first sitting of today. And on a special note, thank you, honorable members of parliament, for being good members of parliament. I would also want to thank our friends in the Fourth Estate for the role they play in communicating very vital information to the public. You are good partners in development. However, the problem with you is that what is falsehood moves faster than what is the truth. So you need to watch out on that. We are introducing a bill on computer misuse, and that one will sort out these problems. Honorable members, His Excellency, the President will be back here on 14th June 2022 to present the budget speech pursuant to Article 155, Clause 1 of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda. I once again want to thank Your Excellency for a very enriching speech or State of Nation address, which has been very concise and very educative. It has clarified a number of issues that were raised that have been in the social media and that have been in the public domain, like the issue of the coffee. Parliament will continue to fulfill its mandate of representation, legislation, oversight, and most importantly, appropriation. The House is, honorable members, as the President leaves, kindly stay behind. The House is adjourned to 14th June 2022 at 2 p.m. for the budget speech.
Bwatyo ate omukuliza Parliament bwagigadde olunaku olwaleero paka ng'ennaku z'omwezi 14 bwe tugenda okuba nga tujja nga basomera eggwanga embali y'omwaka ogw'ebyensimbi, naye ng'ate kuno kwe kubadde okwogera ku mukulembeze eggwanga akufundikidde omwaka ogw'ebyensimbi era nga kubaddemu ebyafaayo bingi nnyo. Bukya COVID ajja kibadde tekibangawo okujja okwogera eri eggwanga nga tali ku Zoom. Ekisinza okuba nga kyewuunyisa kwe kuba nti era President obubaka bwe abogadde n'ekirwadde kya COVID okuba nti kyeyongedde kwe kulabula bannayuganda tebadde bakyalisa ebijanjalo empise ku nsonga y'okwambala masiki. Mwami Museveni atuuse n'okunokolayo embeera y'abadde Namugongo, abantu bebaaganye okwambala masiki kyagambye kya bulabe nnyo, n'olwekyo ffenna tulina okuba nga tusitukiramu okulaba nti ate tetukkiriza kirwadde kino kuddamu kubanga kitulinnya ku nfeete. Naye okwogera kwa Pulezidenti ebintu bingi nnyo byasinza okuba nga saako essira, naddala okwerumaŋŋana okugenza maaso n'okweyoleka kyagambye nti yabikooye entalo mu kifo ky'abantu okukola ate batandika agenda amaaso nakusongaganamu nnoye, kyagambye nti kireese obuweereza obubi ennyo era n'atuuka n'okukiikira ensingo abantu abandibadde bakozesa omukisa guno okukolagana obulungi ne baminisita okuba nga ate balwane saako n'okufrustratinga oba okunafuya bamusiga nsimbi ababazze okuweereza eggwanga. President era ayogedde n'ensonga endala nnyingi nnyo naddala ezikwatagana ku byenfuna bw'asujjukiza bannayuganda ku nsonga y'emmwanyi. Yagambye tagenda kutuula butuuzi, agenda kusigala ng'agisaako essira okulaba nga ate naddala diiro eyogerwako egenda mu maaso nonno. Era atuse n'okuwa ennukutu baziyita statistics ku mmwanyi ezirimu nti wano Uganda emmwanyi biliyoni ezibeera ddala 400 biliyoni 4 eza dola zeziva mu mmwanyi, naye kyennaku ekiriwo nti ate yonga Africa oba Uganda tufuna biliyoni 2 n'ekitundu. Kyagambye nti era kyongera okulaga obunafu mu ngeri emu. President atuse ku nsonga ebyokwerinda, gyagambye nti nsonga nkulu nnyo. Mwatuse n'okumenya abamu ku baali abayeekera, bwatuse otujjukiza abangalisira kwena gwagambye nti oyo yali muyeekera naye yalwana olutalo olw'okulwana nga yali tamanyi, wabula n'amanya Joseph Kony sako ne DF. Bagambye nti ate bano bo bakola ebikolobero bingi nnyo ebitayinza kubanga biva mu matu g'abantu, wakuli akulumba Kichwamba n'ebitundu ebirala by'eggwanga n'okuteeka eggwanga ku bunkenge. Bibadde bingi nnyo omukulembeze byayogedde era nga speech ye obwedda agitaputa mu nnimi ez'enjawulo, mu Luzungu n'assa mu Luswayiri n'ennimi ezakuno ssaako n'okutabulamu ennyiri eza Bayibuli. Bingi nnyo ebigenze mu maaso wano era nga mu kaseera kano tusuubira olukiiko olufuzi oba giyite cabinet egenda okuba nga emusiibula mu butongole bw'aba avudde wano yakwayolekere yeyongere mu maaso, naye nga ensonga ya reconciliation oba okutambuza ebyobufuzi ebyokutegeeragana agisimbyeko nyamanyi. Wawedde ekyokulabirako kya minisita Beatrice Anywa eyali owa FDC, oluvannyuma najja n'abeegattako mu ngeri y'okuzaawo okukolera wamu n'obumu, naye nga ensonga y'okulumaŋŋana alabise nga si musanyufu nayo era nga kyekimu kwasinza okussa essira mu mbeera eyo. Kakati mu kaseera kano oluyimba lw'eggwanga lugenda mu maaso n'okuyimbwa, ate bwe lufundikira ndowooza bave wano bagende afune ekifaananyi ne baminisita, bw'aveeyo olwo ayolekere emirimu emirala, naye nga Parliament omukyala Anita Among alabise nga agigadde paka lwetugenda okudda ku budget day okusiibula mu butongole nga bwe tugenda maaso n'okusiibula oba n'okulaga ebifaananyi. Ndowooza President bw'ava agenda okubuuza ku bantu ab'enjawulo ate bagenda maaso n'okukolagana nabo nga bwe tugenda maaso n'okusigira ekifaananyi gwe alaba Salt Media wa Salt TV mu kacukano. Bw'atyo bw'alabise kubanga ate ajja okusinkana bamu ku bantu mu ngeri eyo nga bwe tukusingiza ekifaananyi gwe munnange alaba Salt Media mu kaseera kano. Bw'atyo bwa Museveni awerekeddwako Maama Janet Kataha Museveni agenda okusinkana Speaker Parliament omukyala Anita Mongo ne Deputy Speaker ate ne tulaba ne Clerk wa Parliament bwe batyo bwe balabise nga bagenda okwogeranyamu mu ngeri olutuula. Omukolo guno gwetabiddwako abanene bangi nnyo. Tulabye Deputy Speaker ow'e Rwanda naye kwali ba commissioners ab'enjawulo ate nabo bazze ate okugwetabako n'okusimagana oba okulaba ebirungi ebituukiddwako nga tutunudde okusoma budget nga bw'olaba mu kaseera kano gwe munnaffe alaba. Lubadde lutuula lwa Parliament era giyite normal parliamentary session nga President kyetulinda kati kwe kufuna ekifaananyi naye ndowooza nga bwe tumanyi ensonga z'ebyobulamu era tebamusemberera nnyo okuggyako okusemberako okumpi ne bamubongako obubonzi mu ngeri ey'okuba nti basiima emirimu egikolebwa. Bwe bityo ate mukolo guno bwe gutyo bwe gutambudde naye nga bingi nnyo abasinga obedda bye tulowooza bye tuwageresezaako era President abikonyeeko naddala mu nsonga ez'ebyokwerinda bwe yagambye nti ennyingo nnya kwasinza okusesira ng'atandika okwogera kwe. Bwe bityo kifaananyi bwe kitabise nga akyekobya ne Speaker, Deputy Speaker, Speaker wa Rwanda n'abakungu abalala. Nengera Adolf Mwesigye kiraka wa Parliament ate nga aline abakungu abalala mu ngeri eyo nga bwe tugezaako okusigira ekifaananyi gwe munnaffe alaba Salt Media mu kaseera kano nga ate emikolo bwe gitambudde emikulu egy'eggwanga gino gye gimu ku mikolo ate egya Parliament giba emikulu okugera kwa President ne kubeerako okusoma budget okulayiza abaka ba Parliament ng'etandika wakati okutwalizaamu gye gimu ku mikolo egibeera ku kalenda y'eggwanga enkulu omukulembeze eggwanga gy'awomamu omutwe okwogerako eri eggwanga. Bw'atyo ate yeetadde mu Ddemezi oba atudde mu motoka. Motoka erabise bulala si eno eya bulijjo enneme okumanya ekika kyayo naye nga bw'atyo bwakoze emirimu gye. Omukyala Speaker yeebazizza nnyo bannamawulire era tekirya kulabikalabika okwakinooleginga emirimu egikolwa bannamawulire mu ngeri y'okubunyisa ate enjiri oba eggwanga okuba nga litambula ligenda mu maaso nga bwe tugenda mu maaso n'okusigira ekifaananyi. Mukyala Anita Mongo bw'atyo bwagadde Parliament n'aberekerwako bakola emirimu egimu gwe munnaffe alaba mu kaseera kano. Beetadde mu Ddemezi okuba nga ate beeyongerayo nga bwe tugenda mu maaso n'okulaga. Mu kaseera kano tugezaako okulaba nga tukwasaganyamu ku bantu ab'enjawulo abeetabye ku mukolo guno. Tugezaako okuwasaganya ku bakungu abamu. Ssaabaminisita mukyala Robin Nabbanja nga bwe tugenda maaso n'okusigira ekifaananyi gwe munnaffe alaba mu kaseera kano gwe munnaffe alaba mu kacyo kano. Bwetyo abaana betukulaga bamu ku basirikale Meja Elwelu Peter Elwelu amyuka omuduumizi w'eggye ery'oku ttaka ate yasinkana wano wana Brigadier Masiko ne tulaba n'abakungu abalala b'enjawulo ate abeetabye ku mukolo guno nga bwe tulaba mu kaseera kano gwe alaba mu kacyo kano. Ngezaako okuwasaganya ku bakulu abeetabye wano. Honorable gyebaleko nnyabo gigenda gitya okwogera ku President kuno okulabya otya naddala State of the Nation
yagala nze kyendabyemu ayogedde bulungi era kyendabye nti Uganda erina ebyobugagga bingi eby'omu ttaka. Ekyokubiri alambuludde bulungi ekintu ky'entobazi kubanga abantu abamu babadde bakiraba nti akikola mu ngeri ya kuvuyavuya abantu naye abirambuludde bulungi. Then n'ensonga endala nze ndabye nga akatiriza nnyo embeera naddala ey'omuntu owa bulijjo mu byenfuna. Katugambe nga infrastructures bwagala nti ajja kufuba nnyo okukola amakubo akatale ate alabe nga buli n'omuntu owa bulijjo aganyulwamu.
Tweyanze Honorable tubabulire ku mannya ne fesa tojikuwesa
abampita Nakato Mary Anet omubaka wa Buyende district
enza tuyanze gembaka Mary Anet Nyakato bwatyo naye bwafundikidde ate omukolo guno bwegutyo bwegutambudde olunaku olwaleero nga bwe tukulaga gwe alaba sort media mu kaseera kano. Yes, Honorable, we'd love to have a word with you in regards to the President's speech. What do you have to say about it?
Let me come.
Bali a bit reserved abamu. Tetumanyi. Yes, Honorable Angura, okwogera kwa President okwogera kwa kira bye boogedde bimbadde musuubira.
President yayogedde ebintu bingi ebikwatagana n'engeri gye tunaavaamu mu akaseera kano ke tulimu, era yayogedde ebintu bingi singa tunakwatirako ku ebyo President bye yayogedde tujja kuvaamu bulungi ku nsonga eziriyo kati. Tumanyi nti tulina ensonga y'amaanyi nnyo etukute ffena ebikwatagana n'ebbeeyi y'ebintu okugenda, naye kati awo egenda etuleetera ensonga nyingi ebikwatagana ne projects ezitambula kati okukola ki okufuna naye ebizibu. Kye twagala tukwategane wamu tukolagane wamu tujja kuvaayo mu nsonga zino.
Enza tuyanze gembaka ate Angura abadde agenda maaso n'otemetemera buli muntu speech ya President agiwulidde mu ngeri ye nga bwe. Yes, Honorable. What do you have to say about the President's statement about the state of the nation?
One thing I must say, first of all, my name is Karubanga Jacob Atenyi, the representative of the people of Kibanda South in Kiriandongo district. I must say personally, I am so convinced, especially when the speech has answered most of the issues that we were raising as patriotic and objective members of parliament. You realize the issue of the coffee has been well addressed, and he has really said yes, he has to engage all those who are participating in the coffee industry as an example, and all the others really. So I commend it, and I want to implore all the members of parliament to come together and we push, emphasizing the issue of value addition, especially to our raw materials, the minerals. That is something highly commendable. And with the economics and the figures and what have you has explained, I hope all Ugandans will appreciate that.
Thank you very much. That was ndowooza olw'okuba nti akadde ate kadduka speed tugenda kuba nga tubazeeyo mu studio bano bemu ku bantu abatono nnyo betubadde okuba nga tubafunira ate abadde bareactinga ku nsonga nga bwezitambudde. Naye kyewuunyisa ng'era bwe nagambye bannaffe aboodovuganya gavumenti eri n'omu akubiddwako kya Mulubaale era omukolo guno abedde abamu batweza message bagulabidde ku TV. Ebimu n'ebikira ku bino tugenda kuba nga tubibawa mawulire ate katudde ku ttiimu ya Apple Tsime, Moses Kajangu saako ne Muhammad Wamala babe nga ate bakuba tooki mu kwogera kuno nga naffe buteekateeka ate okujja n'ensonga zino mujjuvu mu mawulire. Nze Grace Egirinya mbadde ne Eric Sebalamu wano ekkolo tukwebaza bwebaza gwe munnaffe yabadde naffe okuvya ddala ku makya okuba bwe twatandise naawe ate mugende mu maaso n'okulimirwa empeereza.
Kale abadde ku Soul TV tukulisaayo ku mukolo ogubadde gugenda mu maaso okusawa ekololo nga His Excellency the President awa State of the Nation address ayogera eri eggwanga nga bwe litambudde oba nga bwe liyimiridde mu kiseera kino oluvannyuma lw'omwaka ogumu nga Parliament oba financial year mu kisanja kino eky'emyaka 5 nga kiggwako. President Yoweri Museveni kimukakatako okusinziira mu ssemateeka okwogerera eggwanga era n'awa embalirira mu ngeri eyo kyasobodde okuba nga atuukiriza era n'akikola bulungi nnyo. Tulabye nga ensonga President Yoweri Museveni ezibadde zisuubirwa okwogerwako era azoogeddeko, ensonga ey'ebyenfuna oba economy butya bweyimiridde asobodde okikola. Then n'ayogera ku nsonga y'ebyokwerinda n'obutebenkevu bw'eggwanga, n'ayogera ku nsonga ya governance, mpozi n'ayogera na ku kiki kye bategese mu mwaka ogujja financial year ejja biki gavumenti yebeetegese okukola n'ebyo byetandiseeko okukola mu kiseera kino kyennyini. Okwogera kwa His Excellency the President kusinze nnyo okwetoololera ku nsonga ya value addition, okwongera omutindo ku bye tukola, kabeere ebirime, kabeere mu sector ya agriculture, kabeere mu sector ya production ya industries, n'ebyobugagga byaffe eby'omutaka oba byonna bye tusobola okuba nga tufuna wano byonna asobodde okuba nga agamba nti kyetaagisa ku mulundi guno tutunule nnyo value addition. Abantu abadde abangi nga babadde balindiridde ensonga embeera eriwo kati ey'ebbeeyi y'ebintu okulinnya naye asobodde ogyogerako naye ate tavudde ku kiri kye yayogera mu address eyasooka n'agamba nti okusala ku misolo oba okubaako ebintu ebimu oba bye basonyiwa bannamakolero yagambye nti ekyo kijja kusoboka olw'okubeera nti akozesa ekigambo suicidal nti kubeera nga kwetsa muguwa mu bulago kyekigambo kyakozesezza. N'ategeeza nti mu ntegeka eno ey'okugezaako okwasaganya embeera eno ebyenfuna etali nnungi gavumenti ye naye kenyini kyakola kwe kwogerezeganya n'abo abakwatibwako ensonga eno omuli ng'abakulembeze b'eggwanga erya Amerika ne pulezidenti w'eggwanga erya Russia okulaba nti obaolyawo bakakanyaamu mu mbeera bakkirize ebintu ebimu bitambule katugambe nga eŋŋano esobole okuba nga etambula etuuke eno mu mawanga gaffe aga Afrika mpozi obaolyawo ng'ategeeza nti bino byonna bye tusaba oba bye tubadde tukayanira nti wabeewo okusonyiwa emisolo wabeewo okukendeeza ku misolo nti ebyo byonna kubeera okugezaako okulemesa ate production bibeera bya undermining production mpozi ate nga byongeza consumption kyagambye nti ate kiri temporary nti embeera eriwo kati ya kiseera buseera kyandibadde obaolyawo tekyetaagisa. Yes, His Excellency the President nkugambye nti asinze ennyo okwetololera ku nsonga ya value addition mu ekyo ayogedde ku mmwanyi zaffe nti emmwanyi zaffe okuba nti tugitunda emmwanyi tugitunda nga teteereddwako mutindo eggwanga lifiirwa kinene awadde ekyokulabirako nti mu Africa emmwanyi zaffe coffee growing countries ensi ezirima emmwanyi zifuna only 2.4 billion US dollars kumbe abagiteekako omutindo ate bo bafuna kinene nnyo bafuna billion dollars $206 mu nsimbi za Amerika zebafuna kyayise obunyazi bwennyini obugenda mu maaso. So n'agamba nti ategese oba mu ntegeka eyo asikiriza nnyo bamusiga nsimbi basobole okujja babeere nga bassa omutindo ku birime byaffe ne bye tukola wano omwe muli ne Enrica Pinetti omukyalo oyo omuyitale gwe yali aleese okussa omutindo ku mmwanyi yaffe era n'agamba nti ensonga eno tanaba kugivaako n'ategeeza nga bw'ategese obaolyawo okusinkana abo abali mu coffee subsector obaolyawo babeereko ne kye bakola okulaba nti entegeka ey'okwongereza oba okussa omutindo ku mmwanyi yaffe ereme kugwa butaka egende mu maaso mu mbeera eyo. Bingi nnyo byayogeddeko mu ntegeka eno n'ayogera ku bintu ebirala nga gold ebintu ebirala bye tulina wano ewaffe nga steel bingi nnyo bye tulina n'agaa nti ekyo kiteekwa kukoma Africa oba mawanga gano agakyakula bwe ganaabeera nga buli kaseera geetundako raw materials ebintu ebikozesebwa obaolyawo ebyandiyambye amakolero okutumbuka n'okweyongera mu maaso naye nga tubitunda nga bwe biri tekigenda kuyamba Africa oba n'ensi zaffe okukulakulana era n'alayira nti ekyo tajja kikiriza n'omulundi n'ogumu. Abamu abadde bagoberera ensonga eno ku mikutu n'emirala balowoozeza nti obaolyawo pulezidenti yabadde avuga kintu kyekyaki ekyemmwanyi naye ate ogenda okulaba nga pulezidenti byayogedde